from you. I drift away. I pray that you are here to stay. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it. Anything at all, you got it. Every time I hold you, I begin to understand. Everything about you tells me I'm your man. I live my life to be with you. No one can do the thing you do. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it. Anything at all, you got it. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it. Anything at
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Table of Titans. It is Thursday again, and Eyes Wide Shot +2. Because if you've been paying attention for the show for a long period of time, this is our third iteration of this show, and we're going to go into a little bit of extensive detail about some of the things that you have seen in the last week or so, and make sure we back it up with some facts, and we'll also have some opinions based inside there, but it's basically blown wide open, and there's a whole bunch of new lists that have come out. We've seen it, the panic MSN freak out. We got the UK pushing Russia. It's just some of the stuff that is coming out in this last week is absolutely crazy. I don't know if you guys just looked at the internet and wanted to turn it off, and you're just like, I don't know where the gray area is anymore. It's getting all muddled up, and we don't know whose side is what is on because it's all at the fog of war, and we've got election things, we've got Epstein, we've got a whole bunch of international to cover itself. And let's get right into it because I got Space Shot, Rdoc, and Tron. And Tron, what is going on? Are we still peddling conspiracy theories now?
Yeah, well, we're running out of conspiracy theories. I looked through my Rolodex. There's nothing left. And I'll tell you what, Patriots, Anons are smiling from ear to ear. We've seen this before, and now we have to watch it play out. This is the moment of execution. And what an amazing last week. We had an Epstein file dump. We had the entire dump of the market, gold, silver, crypto, Dow, S&P 500, wherever you're at, you're losing somewhere. And we also had a new Fed chair, government shutdowns. Oh, and the Olympics is approaching after the Super Bowl, go like a puppy show. And curling is my favorite winter sport. Let's get into it. Hulk's got a great show. Hit that thumbs up, and it's boom time.
Yeah, we'll get into some Olympic stuff a little bit later, but there's some cheating going on in Olympic skiing, the high jump where they fly really far. Mr. Rdoc, how are you doing? We got lots to talk about with you.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how deep we can go. I don't think we can go into all kinds of depth that I'd love to do and talk about Crown Temple Corp and, you know, who's really behind that in the UK. But right now, the UK is in complete disarray and panic. The Epstein thing has just really ripped through there with the Mandelson stuff. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we'll talk about how the UK MI6 and the European elite globalists are working with Donald Tusk, former European Council president and globalist himself, to try to start this whole Russia narrative that Epstein was a Russian KGB asset. We'll get into some detail on that. Also, some Ukraine ties to him. We'll talk about the Iran diplomacy talks, the trilateral talks between Ukraine, Russia. Those ended. Also, the energy ceasefire, energy truce ended on the 1st of February, and we'll talk just a little bit briefly about that and kind of what's just going on in general. But we won't really dig in deep into Ukraine today because all the focus is on, the START treaty. We'll touch on that a little bit. And we'll also talk about a DOJ report that was released that says the European Union interfered in various different European elections, including one in Romania that we've talked about extensively on the show. So enough of that. Let's get on to it.
Yeah, I had to ask Rdoc to repeat himself on that. It's like, what'd you say? I'm like, yeah, it's true. Okay. Mr. Space Shot, sir. You got any conspiracy theories you're selling?
Oh, yeah, dude. Trump's covering for his enemies and, he didn't want to let the files out. And it's like, dude, cannot people not see? You guys remember like when the stuff first came out and everybody was talking about it and Trump's talking about it like 2015? Bill Clinton, great guy, is going to have a lot of problem with them islands coming up. First politician or celebrity to bring that stuff mainstream, right? And then nowadays, it's Trump's covering for his folks. And I'm like, that's got to be the stupidest thing ever. The stupidest move ever to do something like that. So I'm very much enjoying this this time that we're living in here because it's like, we've been waiting for this stuff, and I guess the first Trump wasn't the first real drop, and the binfluencers that went to the White House, they didn't get a new drop either, and we didn't get invited to that. So I guess maybe that's a good thing. I kind of think I don't know, but anyway, always want to give a big hat tip to Country and the folks over there simulcasting with us from Liberty Base News, formerly the Patriot News Crew, and always a big hat tip to the mods out there, you guys and gals, actually mostly gals and guy, rock out there. So I do appreciate your help. And we got a bunch of stuff to go through today. So I'm going to give it back to Mr. Hulkinator and we're going to rock it out here. Let's do it.
Well, we're going to give you guys a little public service announcement, an apology to everybody that has been out there, that has been following the QAnon stuff for so long, all the way out there since 2017. You're officially getting an apology, we don't know where to get it. We're going to go right to here and kick it off with this clip. Let's go for it.
What were your thoughts about the Epstein files and 3 million pages being released? And, now we are hearing that Bill and Hillary Clinton have both agreed to testify in the House ahead of the contempt of Congress vote. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, this is certainly something we were talking in my meeting today about what I'm going to talk about on the show Friday, because it's just too interesting. And also, I can't believe I'm saying this, but where does QAnon go for the apology? QAnon, which believed in lots of really ridiculous things like, Democrats eat babies. Yeah. But they were kind of harping a lot on the idea that the elites are running this pedophile ring. And I made jokes about them. I also made jokes after the Epstein thing happened originally that were on the idea of, obviously there was some smoke there. Well, now with all that's come out in the last couple of weeks, there's a little more than smoke. It does look like anybody who was at all able to get in touch with Jeffrey Epstein, he was the man.
We're doing it.
They just, yeah. And then they all lied about it. Everybody has, and the arrogance also of thinking they could just use their real name in an email, which they did, and didn't try to couch it in, when I used to get pot before it was legal, it was like, I'd like 2 shirts, please, and no seeds in the shirts this time. We had to sort of codify it. No, they're just openly talking in emails about this sort of, sexual perversion and that they were all doing. And lots of people who you didn't think, or I never imagined were doing it. I see these names come up. QAnon, yes, a lot of crazy there. But you know what? You weren't totally wrong about that, guys.
Well, I think the news narrative brought the crazy on top of it. We were still right in the very beginning if you stick with the facts and the stuff we saw. Mr. Space Shot, reaction.
Dude, never expected that one. But dude, is he trying to he should know that we know better, okay? The whole eating babies. Show me the drop where it talks about them like eating the babies and drinking blood and adrenochrome, because I don't recall that stuff. But Hulk, remind me, what's the name of his production company? I just can't remember.
Oh yeah, Kid Loves Production.
Oh, Kid Love Production. He just loves kids, right? You know, I don't even know if he has any kids.
Red Shoes,
Mr. Red Shoes, Mr. Kid Love Production, and who knows? You know, QAnon. They were pushing some crazy stuff. Oh, remember that Pizzagate stuff? Wait, wasn't Pizzagate before or after? I don't even know. It's all so confusing, but it's hilarious to see him come out there and actually mention Q and say, "Well, where do we go for the apology?" Slam dunk.
Well, give me the, let's get some of those awards out. I have so many people to thank. We have conspiracy theories coming true. And remember, guys, Bill Maher, again, Red Shoe Club, part of the drops, Kid Love Productions, and he was featured in the drops 5 times. And the one from 2019 that Space Shot was hitting on, the Kid Love Productions, even has a Epstein reference in it. No joke and or reference regarding Epstein. No attempt to connect back to POTUS. Silenced and hunted, and then they show a photograph of him in a black hoodie with a QAnon sticker on his laptop. And this right here, this recent interview reminds me of, like, again, the humiliation tour. Again, you know, and instead of arresting them, instead of embarrassing them, now there's a little bit of truth. Now those crazies are real, but at the end of the day, it's all about the truth and, most importantly, justice. And they can keep on touting the QAnon conspiracy, but like he said, man, it's coming true. And sometimes it feels like these people have, you know, been put into submission, white hat, and now it's all being unveiled at the same time. And this is what the NPCs need. This is what the normies need. You don't mess with the children. So this is a small little step. There might be a little bit of awakening in Hollywood there, and I guess this is a good thing. We'll just take it for what it is.
Exactly. Let's throw some Epstein clips out here, as long as we're already here. His pieces of the Band-Aid interview leaked.
No time. I got to go back to this because it's. I'm like a dog with a bone in this thing.
Yes.
You can't. There's something deeply fucked up with you.
At least something.
Well, we know there are things deeply fucked up with this. You will get through in this film,
Right.
but you cannot possibly
AI Hulk?
have sit there
No.
knowing that you came from nowhere, knowing that you went to the very top of what is considered outside of science and maybe physics, the thing people most admire because it's like alchemy, understanding high finance. To sit there in what will be the defining financial crisis of our time, like Black Friday or Black
Yes.
Monday, whatever it was, in the Great Depression, and be there at that exact moment, triggered in part by a firm that you used to be a partner in and knew intimately well, and it created much of your initial net worth because of. And know that you couldn't, someone who lives on a phone, right?
Yes.
Because you do live on a phone, right?
Correct.
You had to collect calls. You cannot tell me sometime during that day you did not have that conversation with yourself of how the fuck did I do this to myself to put myself in West Palm Beach in a 6x9 cell with a metal fucking bed with a brown shirt that said trustee spelled wrong.
So did I find it amazing that I was there? That's a
Not
better-
amazing. I don't want to say it's not funny. Oh, I thought it was.
I wasn't funny.
Right.
But
Not amazing.
no, it was incredible.
Incredible in what way? Incredible, like, how do I do this to myself?
No. It's as incredible as me sitting here in this house. They're both just two sides of the coin. That's how I think about it. That my life today is incredible.
Do you consider yourself a stoic?
No. I consider myself a hermit.
Hermit,
Wow.
kind of interesting thing. Here, let's get just a little bit of this other little piece right here, and then we'll go, oh, wait, this one right here. Oh, nope, that is it. Just a little bit of this.
What are you, class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
Was tier 1's the highest and worst?
No, I'm the
lowest?
I'm the lowest. It's a child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
I'm sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is somebody
devil's
knows.
what?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I saw that in a movie.
What are you, class?
I saw that in a movie once. Interesting things. Also, inside some of the leaked audio and stuff coming out of these drops that are coming from the DOJ, Epstein had a cell phone inside the jail system talking about how he had to tape pictures to the wall and get tape. Anybody find this extremely amazing, some of the stuff that we've seen in the last week or so come out regarding some of the Epstein stuff that's here, and him talking about that he needed to barter for tape to go ahead and put pictures on the wall? And they also came out and said that they still didn't find the noose that killed Epstein, by the way. So, thoughts? I mean,
yeah.
we're going to go through some of these conspiracies here very quickly.
Yeah, Hulk, and I don't want to, butt in on something that you may want to cover later. Are you going to cover that post, the 4chan post?
Yes.
Okay, so I will not cover that now. But dude,
I don't know which piece you're talking about, but yeah, I do have a piece of it.
The one ahead of time, the guard?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, we had that situation, and if everybody remembers, people were saying, like, oh, it's Hillary Clinton's brother that's really the body, and things didn't line up. I mean, there was such weird stuff. And then the dude that they put with him, like that muscle-bound dude who, like, strangled other people, former cop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing weird about any of this stuff that's going on here, guys. Missing seconds in the tape, right?
It's funny because you mentioned the 4chan post, and before we get to any of that, don't you find it weird that the nurse, whoever made that post, went to 4chan out of all the people, in the world? Like, why would you go to that,
Right.
that area of the internet is just odd. So everything doesn't make sense, but the fact that we're getting so much is overwhelming that, Anons and even, the Influencer Inc. are going through there and they're picking out like fake evidence saying that this guy did this. And when it's all hearsay, it's all in the back channel. So this is almost like a test to see who's who runs with what. And sometimes, you make a mistake, you want to go with it, but there's so much information that is overwhelming, misspellings and whatnot. But this is what we wanted. This is what we should have had many years ago. Biden sat on it, but now we got to figure out where it goes from there.
So let's just take a dip into some of the emails and stuff, because you had pointed this out to me. And I find it extremely interesting here that, some smart guy over on Reddit used the release of the information that had came out, and then was able to access said email on this and be able to clone it. So they guessed the password and they were able to get into one of his many email accounts. Tron, you brought this to my attention. Did you want to say anything on it?
That is just amazing. Someone, like you said, someone scraped the entire Gmail account. And guys, you can go in there and search for anything. There's almost a result for everything. And just for a joke, I typed in Titan in there, Titans, and it came up that they went to go see a premiere for the Teen Titans movie. Like, there's literally everything in there. This is a jmail.world. And I'll tell you what, man, this really gives you a behind-the-scenes look at how this empire, how this criminal syndicate was operating. It's just incredible.
And exactly, we had talked about all the comms that were out there. Probably the most surprising thing I saw over here was the amount of stuff that was involving roadblocks, gaming. We'll talk a little bit about that more later. That he also liked the Five Nights at Freddy's porn, their weird porn that they like to get into. That was in the very beginning of the movie. So I went and looked, and the founder of 4chan that started in the very beginning, not the two crack addicts that talked about QAnon, but this is in the beginning of that. They had a conversation with Epstein. They started 4chan and then created Poll just shortly thereafter that. And then we had QAnon go on through the thing. So I just find it interesting because we also have reports of Maxwell being over on Poll and being a moderator, and also over on Reddit doing the same sort of thing. So when you say that, you find it weird that they went to post this, I find it, exactly what they were designed to do. Go put the information out on the supposed information op that they had set up out there.
Well, and that goes on to prove that the guy that actually made that leak on poll, and I saw that live like 2 hours before the official announcement, and everyone on 4chan was like, "Yo, this is fake," until it happens, and boom, it actually happened. So it's very interesting how tightly they're connected. And remember, there was a time during the drops where Q Team switched from 4chan to 8chan because it wasn't secure, it was infiltrated, and maybe this had something to do with it.
Yeah. So also going through, it seems like Epstein had about 11 different emails all over the place, Yahoos and this and that. So there are many accounts it seems like he was doing. Some of them were active as late as 2019 on Roadblocks buying V-Bucks. And if anybody's not familiar with what was going over on Roadblocks, there was a kind of a group of child predators over there doing their sort of thing and getting kids off the platform and meeting in real life, which the story just came out about a kid in New York they still haven't found. So this is just kind of them massaging and going through the system. And, Tron, we've seen in the drops where they were using Xbox Live for communications, and Epstein
Xbox
was
Live,
a gamer.
Gmail drafts. But it makes you wonder, why would someone at the top of the pyramid, or allegedly at the top of the pyramid, go through all this trouble on a solo mission? I mean, we did hear him with Bannon say that he's a hermit, and maybe this was one of his, things that he did. But it just, again, the network was kind of hidden, but not anymore.
Exactly. Even some of these emails that are coming out where Epstein is saying this is not for email. We need to take this off of that particular platform. So, I mean, he knew the limit and where they can go, and people just email and stuff to him. He said, we can't talk about this stuff here.
Well, and they wanted to get caught too, almost like someone that's into drugs too much or an alcoholic. They want to, cry for help here.
Yeah, so here, read this one, Space Shot, or Tron. Go ahead and read that for everybody.
Right there, guys. In a 2018 email, Jeffrey Epstein recounts laughing about Jews controlling the world. Quote, "At my dinner table, I asked, why are you right-wing guys so anti-Semitic? One said, historically, we all know it's actually been the Jews behind the government's actually pulling the strings. I said, well, like who? And one pointed at me, and they all started to roar with laughter. Guilty. Ma Jews, ma Jews."
So when you start thinking about how they set this anti-Semitic censorship program out on America to label everybody as anti-Semitic, didn't matter if you were kind of lightly treading or asking questions, you were just all labeled as anti-Semitic. And the amount of network that they put together under Epstein and the people that this person was meeting to make sure they can infiltrate this particular narrative out there, I find it very impressive. You got to hand off that, some of these drops and stuff that's coming out is far deeper than anything we actually thought, including this. What do you think about that, Space Shot?
We got here. Jeffrey Epstein was advised to buy Activision stock in 2018, specifically due to Call of Duty's new Battle Royale Blackout mode, which was viewed as a Fortnite killer. Emails showed his advisor pushing for $1 million ATVI share purchase right before the BO4 launch. Well, I'm glad he didn't, right? And, it would have just been more places that they can do their little chit-chats back and forth, like you mentioned earlier.
He did buy into it. Remember when Soros also bought a big chunk of Activision? Blizzard. Blizzard. Just wanted to point that out. And, Space Shot, what do you think you have to do to get banned off of Xbox Live? I mean, when we're talking about comms and whatnot, and to actually get a 2013 notice saying that you're being removed from the actual platform doing stuff that's supposedly bullying or whatever. But I think they were trying to move kids off of platform and Xbox Live, and this would have been a great thing.
Yeah, do you see the last one there? The conduct that caused this suspension may include, but not limited to, this, that, and the other. Stalking, right? Maybe he was trying to do something with, get young kids or young girls. I mean, it could be something like that, or he could have just been saying like the N-word to black people, or, you SPIC to Mexican, Latinos and stuff like that. Could have been anything.
And Epstein was so upset he couldn't get into his Xbox. He had to give Bill Gates STDs, and then we all know where that went after that.
That's another thing, dude. I mean, how you get that much true, but, that he wrote an email to himself saying that, that Bill Gates got some disease, gave it to the wife, and he's asking him, how do we give her, what do you want to give her? The drug, I forget it. penicillin to get rid of it.
Was that what it was? I
Without
don't know
her
what it
knowing.
was. Yeah, it was like covert that he was going to give it to her all secretively. So now we know why she was so pissed off about his relationship with Epstein. And again, dude, I will never buy her explanation of the first time she met Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, the man, he was abhorrent. He was evil personified. So wait, your husband, whoever it is, you go, hey, I want to introduce you to my wife. And like you're gonna be so abhorrent and ruthlessly evil on the first meeting, like it doesn't make any sense to me. And then when she's talking about, I just feel awful for the girls, like she can't keep her eyes open because she's friggin' a bold-faced liar. So yeah, and I don't even know if that's the original one, dude. Like she looks so different, and that jaw is so mannish. It's not even. That's a man.
Yeah. So I mean, he says he's a hermit. And he plays video games. Plays a lot of video games: Roadblocks, Fortnite, Xbox Live, Black Ops. I mean, he's a gamer. He's talking to high-ranking people in these companies, including on social media, including in financial worlds itself. That everybody wanted to be this guy's friend. So I'm gonna throw a funny over here that Trump's playing this game
great.
that you like. Here you go.
Oh,
These guys, they're a lot of assholes in here in Stella. It's mostly good people, but some I assume are not good people. And they come into medical on Stella Montes. We call it Stella, and they do rat things. Okay, we got a big rat problem. A lot of rats. A rat problem. Piece of candy. You look at the Epstein files; they're not real. Look.
So that was my quick little funny on that, dude. I was laughing on that, dude, because people are getting.
That is funny.
that's
That is
hilarious.
funny.
And actually, I kind of lost the point that I was getting at earlier, which was in the very beginning. Remember when the files came out and Trump's like, Epstein, this, that, and the other, and then, oh, well, he's in jail. And it's like it made a kind of a blur, but it wasn't getting the attention from the other side. When did we start getting that attention? When Trump's like, it's nothing. It's probably a hoax. It's most likely it's all fake. And everybody's like, oh, we need to see those files now. And that's what it was.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. Yeah. So
who was the? Weren't there 2 or 3 congressmen or congresspeople? There was Marjorie Taylor Greene. What's the
Massey,
Luna
and
Massey.
And not so much Paul Luna. She's still on the good side of the list.
No, but these were there was like 3 of them that were part of this little group, and they pushed to get all these files released.
Yeah, MTG said that Donald Trump was very pissed and it would hurt people if they released the files. It came out anyways. Hey, but let's see what...
It's hurting people, definitely. Definitely.
So again, Epstein did a lot of computer stuff and gaming, and here's him. He's pumping out beats, dude.
And who's recording this?
Exactly.
Oh, and that track jacket sold out everywhere. True story. People are actually buying it. They're idolizing this character. That's a scary part of this whole thing.
Here, read this for everybody, Mr. Tron. I don't know where to put this.
From Jordan Sather, the Epstein-Biden ice cream connection. Jenny's ice cream. We all know the ice cream found 673 times the term ice cream in Epstein emails, another code word. And Jenny's ice cream executives previously served on the board of trustees at Lex Wexner's foundation. Joe Biden consistently ate Jenny's ice cream while in office. There's the photo op at the company store. And Pelosi keeps her freezer stocked with Jenny's ice cream. Something sketchy. Look at that. Follow the money with the ice cream.
That's
So,
down to the props.
I don't know where to put it. I'm just throwing it out because I thought that was really weird because, it connected so many pieces together and like, okay, yeah, let's throw that out there with the walnut sauce and chicken and napkins and all that. Now we got ice cream and Jenny's ice cream.
Dude, that's definitely something we need to redig on because maybe it's something that we missed. And I got a question for you 3. What do you think the odds are? I think it's plausible that me, Tron, or Hulk, Tron, or Rdoc possibly have killed Jeffrey Epstein in a video game. What do you think? Possible?
It could be back in 2010 or 12 or whatever. He could have been out there trolling just like the rest of us. It could be.
You remember the Q post talk? Who were the Q posts? We're talking about Oh no, it was cartoons. It was cartoons that posted like the Lion-O and that cartoon. You know what I'm talking about, guys? Remember? Anyway, I was linking that to video games, thinking that there was some information there about somebody who liked certain types of cartoons in certain areas, certain types of video games in an era. Anyway,
Interesting. Other things of their anti-Semitic stuff that they throw out there. They've talked about us being goyim, being the trash that are non-Jewish, all that. All through the entire email chain out there, it is definitely selected. But the one thing I found interesting is they were going to do some sort of party or something, and somebody emailed him and goes like, "Hey, let's go over to Israel. We'll hang out there." Blah blah blah. And he's, "Oh no, not Israel. I don't like it there." I was like, "Oh, that was interesting." Here, I'm just gonna throw a quick Aiden Ross clip in here because why not?
No, guys, listen, don't laugh. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. The girls that go here, they don't remember anything, allegedly, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Guys, they get drugged, right? Listen. The reason why these rooms are all made customly and weird and like look like weird rooms and shit, so you don't remember and you can't describe it to the police, right? So that's why all these rooms look fucking weird, and they look like really weird shit, like statues. And there's a room with like pictures on, like, of faces on the wall. Like, dude, that's what the goal was for these crazy rooms. I'm exposing it because, I'm exposing it. They made the rooms look very customable and not realistic so that they couldn't snitch to the police. How do you know? No, guys.
Yeah, how do you know? I don't know. It's like he almost was told that. I just find it weird when people say stuff like that.
Yeah, and
Like
who's he connected
my
to?
alarm goes off. Oh, he's Jewish.
Who does he
Aiden
gamble with a lot?
Rostenstein.
Yeah.
Yes.
He gambles with Dana White, who's good friends with Trump as well.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about some of this other stuff that was coming out here. You guys all saw this particular deal that shows that ex-states ex-raped or sodomized by Epstein in 2000, large yacht. He's with former U.S. Bill Clinton, and they sacrificed some kid and all that. You guys heard about all that, right? These come from a tip line. So if you saw page 2 of this, on the second page, it also notes that Trump and Melania were there observing this satanic ritual that it was happening. So you got to be careful with some of the stuff that is coming out here, that it was a NTOC tip line that anybody can call and talk about anything they wanted to. So a lot of this stuff is unverified. So you got to be careful where the stuff you're coming from, what you're reading and what you actually think is true.
That one is, but guys, let me pop you guys a little memory thing. You guys remember the girl that was named Jenny Task Force who died in a hotel in like 2018-19, and she was investigating all this stuff. Well, one of the allegations that one of the victims made was indeed that Bill Clinton, and I remember this not from any file, but from the scenario, that the man or boy at the time was raped by Bill Clinton, and it was on a yacht, and it was off of the coast of Newport, Rhode Island. That's the reason I remember. And George Webb was actually in my hometown at the time, Warwick, Rhode Island, and had his car break down. And I was about to go like help this dude, and I'm like, oh, good thing I never went.
So just want to set the stage on a lot of that. Anything you guys want to throw out that you saw was like 100% bullshit, or you didn't know what to do with it? Anything you want to throw out?
Well, no, a lot of the tip line BS was, again, put out there for those on the far left and even those in the middle to point the finger that Donald Trump is complicit in this. And this is what Boss has said the whole time. It's a hoax, it's this and that. And then it draws more interest to it. And there's no coincidence that we have the Clintons allegedly testifying at the end of the month. And it's going to be fantastic, guys. This is the Spotlight Tour. Put them on stage, embarrass them, and then let the hammer of justice come just when the timing is right.
Oh, you guess who testifies tomorrow? Anybody want to guess?
John Brennan.
Clintons. The Clintons. Are the Clintons supposed to be?
Maxwell
Really?
testifies tomorrow.
Closed doors?
Closed door,
is one of those
Yes.
shows? Yeah. Okay.
Closed doors. We'll get to that. We're going to get over there.
Congress, right?
Yes, this is Congress. So that's in
and,
front of Comer and his group. Let's.
Oh,
just
and
really-
Doc, Jewish people can't have tattoos like that, right? Isn't that against their religion?
Yeah. Okay. Let's get back into this for a quick second here with the whole Epstein thing, because Gork is saying yes that he did have this particular tattoo. He had it since he was 19 or younger or whatever itself. This barbed wire tattoo. I mean, it looks a little bit fluffed up here or accentuated inside this photo itself. But again, the information I'm saying it's true. He did have it. I don't see any laser removal or anything going on there. But of course, everybody's talking about Epstein and his death. And, you know, did they really shove him out the door through a trap door? I don't know. Is he still alive? Well, we know he didn't kill himself. So I don't know where to put the whole tattoo thing. And then, of course, I do got the little 4chan deal over here of the original post. This thing that you want to talk about, Space Shot?
Yeah, I mean, it's worth reading because, like you mentioned before, it did come up, and as Tron mentioned, like, of all places to put it, should we put it on 4chan? So this is a post at 14:44, so that's 2:44 in the morning, I believe. No, wait, that's 2:44 afternoon, right? 2:44 would be, yeah. It says, not saying anything after this, please do not try to dox me, but last night after 04:15, so 4:15 in the morning count, they took him to medical in a wheelchair, front cuffed, but not one triage nurse says they spoke to him. Next thing we know, a trip van shows up. We do not do releases on the weekends unless a judge orders it. Next thing we know, he's put in a single-man cell, hangs himself. Here's the thing. Trip van did not sign in, and we did not record the plate number, and a guy in a green dress military outfit was in the back of the van, according to the tower guy who led him through the gate. You guys, I'm shaking right now, but I think they switched him out. Who knows? Who knows? And
they have identified this person. He is real. He did work there and came forward that, yeah, I did post that on the chance. So I find it interesting, just more stuff to kind of pay attention to and the swap out. Even, did I have it right here? Yeah, look what ABC News is posting. Read that for everybody, Mr. Space Shot.
Okie. Who entered Epstein's jail tier the night of his death? Newly released video logs appear to contradict official accounts. Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Yeah, so even CVS is saying this stuff, some shadowy figure going across and blah, 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 and who killed Epstein and the whole thing. You see how they're all trying to gray up the area there and bring in a whole lot of more questions than staying with the actual stories. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Clearly it was a Russian asset.
Now this, I want to spend a little bit of, can you read this for everybody? Because I find this interesting about the brother.
Absolutely. All right. Breaking. Epstein had a boss, and after he died, they started threatening his brother, according to a new document. After Jeffrey Epstein died, his brother was threatened. I'll choke you like your brother. Important. Quote, your brother's mistake was that he wanted to tell the court everything. The boss wants to meet you. He just wants to see if you know him or not. Death threat email to Mark L. Epstein, Jeffrey's brother, a.k.a. Puggy, and his attorney, Stacy Richmond, May 26, 2020, 1 year after Jeffrey's death. Quote, you don't know us, I'm sure. You have beautiful children, D-I-T-C-H. F your children. Which one should I kill first? You know, no one knows who we are. I want to kill them in such a way that no one can tell how they died. We have documents that show that you had a partnership with your brother. I want to do something to see the death of your loved ones. We will kill one of your children in 72 hours, stupid. Sent by Puggy Killer, and Epstein's brother was Puggy.
So I find it interesting. There's multiple instances of this type of threatening happening through the Epstein releases. So, I mean, it's out there. I'm not surprised because he did say that he didn't think his brother killed himself, and I was having questions, and then they had that outside examiner tried to take a look at the body, and that got squashed really quick. I don't know, guys. Just saying. What else do we want to get out here? Here, you could take a crack at this. Just more stuff in these emails.
All right, we got Jeffrey Epstein admitted Ghislaine's dad, Robert Maxwell, got taken out by Mossad. Why? He tried to shake them down for 400 million euros, or he'd blow the lid off all the dirty work he did for them. Let that sink in. Blackmail kingpin spills the beans on another blackmail kingpin getting suicided by Israeli intel for trying to flip the script. He was passed away, off a boat, and I don't know if they ever found the body.
That I'm not sure of. And again, even Epstein here, it even came out and says, you probably know I represent the Rothschilds, in an email to Palantir, Peter Thiel, because they're trying to get in with all the tech bros and all that. I'm sure Rdoc's going to have a lot more connections to the Palantir and Peter Thiel, but everybody is in the emails that we're talking about. Was also this one too. Here, you take a crack at that as we get into little notes about the Mexico operation.
All right. A shocking email regarding Epstein's suicide was discovered, sent on the very day he died. There are claims that his death was connected to issues in Mexico and wasn't truly a suicide. Quote, just heard about Epstein. Based on what we have discovered here and who was involved here in Mexico, we don't believe it was a suicide. When you have 5 minutes, you need to listen to what we have as evidence. There was also an FBI report that 2 agents were killed in an attempt to investigate Epstein's child trafficking in Mexico. Ay, ay, ay.
So, yeah, they even killed the judge going back and looking through this particular story as they were opening up an investigation into trafficking into Mexico. And had FBI down there. They're saying like 3 or 4 guys got shot, 2 FBI agents were killed, and also killed a judge to squash the story that was happening down there. And I'm not entirely sure this is the one that's involving SEAL Team 6 founding member that also got involved in this down in Mexico that had huge amounts of computer data of Epstein and videos and a whole bunch of other stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. That was the Mexico stuff we just talked about. What else do we want to get into here really quick? That was the one we just covered. And then it even shows Tom Hanks and Jeb Bush named in the files itself. And we've seen the weird video that Tom Hanks has done in front of with, what's her name, Oprah, in front of that freaking weird like hot dog clock in the background, Tron, right? I mean, you surprised these people are on this list?
Yeah, and again, it doesn't surprise us in 2026, Hulk, that we've been researching all these individuals, and now they're out in the open as Hollywood is falling on their feet. There's nothing left, and again, tear down the whole disease corrupt temple, and that means everywhere.
Here, you can read that for everybody too.
Guys knew in 2009 an email to FBI Director Mueller described Epstein's Zorro Ranch was send. The Epstein Zorro Ranch was a place where child victims of human trafficking were sent before being transferred to the East Coast. However, he was not arrested for trafficking until 10 years later.
So they're talking about this is an email sent to the director of the FBI there at the time with his personal email addresses where this is being pulled from. So this is not a public email address. There's a private email address to be able to send communications to FBI. It can be random if you have it inside the FBI, but they're listing out the Zorro Trust, Epstein's $80 million lottery ticket. Evidently, he won about 4 or 5 lotteries. I'm looking into some of those emails. I was quite surprised. And again, all the stuff that's circled in with everything that we've seen. And also, I saw Val Kilmer sending emails in here too, wanting to come out and hang out at this Zorro Ranch because he's doing a movie locally. So everybody's in here as far as I can see here at this point. It's like, wow.
Robert Mueller, when he had a brain.
And then here's Steve. This is Cuomo here. Hey, Andrew Cuomo here. You want to read that for everybody, Mr. Space Shot?
Tony Cuomo, Anthony.
Tony Cuomo.
Hey, buddy, just letting you know, whatever I read in the newspapers about you does not bother me. I am your friend for life, and true or not, my friendship is yours. Thanks, me too. I'm going to have to figure out a way to get to your island. Welcome. Dude, these people are so screwed up, dude. And, I was reading some of these other ones the other day and where they were basically blaming one of the 15-year-old girls, like, oh, I can't believe what she did to Anthony Weiner. She's so manipulative. And I'm like, these people, like the whole email, and it was Woody Allen's friggin' wife, right? Of all people. Yeah. She's like, oh, he manipulated Weiner. He's sick. Everybody knows he's sick. And I'm like, in their heads, like they are just bashing this 15-year-old girl when a 40-year-old man is like sending, whatever pictures to her. She's the manipulator. Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah.
these
She
people are screwed.
kidnapped and raped herself. Is that what you're saying, sir? I mean, seriously.
Oh, dude, it's bad. It's so bad.
Okay. Yeah. Kash Patel. There's no credible information. Jerry Epstein trafficked minors. So Maxwell's still sitting in jail for trafficking people to no one. Just wanted to put that one back out there. And
Appeal.
yes, some of the information did get pulled back because the victims are like, bro, you're leaking email addresses and passwords, and people are figuring out, getting into our lives. We got issues. You need to pull some of that stuff down. So that did happen on there as they pulled back on some of that. Why they didn't redact it at the beginning, I'm not sure.
Yeah, dude. And then they made it so like certain files that were redacted could be easily unredacted through Word. It was like, what? So hey, everybody wanted everything, and now that they got it, they don't want it because it's hurt people. Like, oh, people said it would.
Read this one.
Sure. Breaking. Jeffrey Epstein file release has resurfaced the fact that Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the federal district judge who sentenced the man who claimed children were being trafficked in Comet Pizza in Washington, D.C. by the most powerful people in the world, Edgar Madison Welch, to prison 2017. Biden made her a Supreme Court justice 5 years later. Wow.
No coincidences. And remember, that guy died on the side of the road. The cop shot him. He wouldn't keep his mouth quiet. So just saying.
I think we're going to start seeing more of these things like start to develop and like that right there. Like, okay, that's crazy. Like, what are the coincidences of that? Right. And then I think we're going to see a lot more of this stuff in a theater near you.
Exactly.
Real quick, Epstein didn't win lotteries. There was a Powerball winner that had a trust named Zorro Trust, and it was not affiliated with Epstein, so he did not win any lotteries.
Really? Wait, okay, good correction there, sir. The other thing I wanted to throw out too, I had forgotten, is you remember when they raided everything except for Zorro Ranch? I just always find that very weird because we all saw, the raids over at New York and the one over, they were down in Florida. We've seen some of them, but not Zorro Ranch. They never raided it and they left it alone. What else do we want to get into here? Well, did we hear what he has to say about the Epstein record?
I did not watch any of his shows this week. Can you, either play it or give me a nutshell of what he said?
No, you have to play because he's just going to kind of go over a lot of stuff. We're going to get a little bit of this, guys.
But it was a level 10 problem. It was never going to please everyone. The person I thought at the time who nailed what the issues were with this was our good friend Mike Davis. I'll play the CNN one, the clip next, but throw up Davis's tweet. There were a ton of problems with this. There was grand jury material. There was, he put this out. Anyone who rapes kids deserves the death penalty. Amen. Here's the problem with the Epstein mess. The FBI doesn't have the evidence many thought it did. I want to see the files, folks. I said, don't let it go. I meant it. We got elected. We looked at it. The file was not, what was in there was not what we thought would be in there. There are not tapes with powerful men raping kids. There is not a list. Epstein's Rolodex was already public. The file's largely unreleasable for many reasons, including grand jury material, which they're moving to get a lot of that out. Court records under seal, child pornography that was downloaded from the internet. You can read the rest of it. Protection of victims. We obviously don't want victims' names out there. Here's another one. Keep that up for a second. Double or triple hearsay. You're seeing it now. You're seeing on Twitter, like, this guy said Joey Bag of Donuts, cut this woman with a razor, or this young girl while raping her. And you're like, wow, that's a really horrible story. It's terrible. And then you find out Joey Bag of Donuts was some famous athlete who was playing a game in Phoenix that night. Like, a lot of this stuff was just people called, not all of it. This is an extremely serious case. Let me be crystal clear. But that doesn't mean every single tip that came in, had any kind of veracity to it at all. A lot of the stuff was clearly debunked. He said, does anyone believe Bondi, Patel, or Bongino would cover up for Bill Clinton or Bill Gates? Didn't even make sense. I was all over this case on my show. The Trump DOJ wanted to be fully transparent, but it couldn't at the time for the reasons above. It's not going to satisfy many, and that's fine. But folks, I'm not going to spend the next 2 years talking about it. This administration got you the information. You can all look at it. And a lot of people are using it to divide us from the inside. Those are just the facts. That's just the way it goes. And by the way, the dividing people from the inside thing is not working. A lot of this is bullshit. A lot of it is foreign operations designed to make us divorce ourselves from the inside, current thing, everything. It is a deadly serious case. There is zero doubt about it. Everyone in the administration treated it as such. Everyone from the start. But it was not, it was a level 10 problem. I can prove it to you. No one else had solved it in the past. Correct? Those are just the facts.
Wasn't there something like when we first heard about his townhouse being raided that they were tapes that had names on them and whatnot? I'm pretty sure there was. Right?
Yep.
All supposedly there are some millions more pages, or 500,000 to 1,005,000 pages. So the DOJ originally released like 3.9 million, then they pulled back 1 million documents on that first day, or in between the first and second day. I don't know if anybody got the whole dump or not. I'm not sure. I'm also hearing that a lot of the video and pictorial evidence of the sex crimes is still redacted, and you'll notice those in some of the files that have headers that talk about certain things, but the pages are completely redacted.
Yeah, it is redacted. DeSantis is even coming out saying that we released everything from the Epstein from 05 to 07 time period, and we're not hiding anything. And the whole Alex Acosta deal about the state deal not being federal charges, because Mueller said we're not charging them federally, give them a day camp in Florida, please. So I just wanted to throw all that stuff out there, as Mueller's really the one at the time that controlled the FBI and made sure it stayed in Florida. And then this right here is, I don't know where to put this, but this is for everybody here.
Today we heard that the Clintons set deposition dates to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Any reaction to that and related to the Epstein?
I think it's a shame, to be honest. I always liked him. Her, yeah. She's a very capable woman. She was better in debating than some of the other people, I will tell you that. She was smart woman. I hate to see it in many ways. I hate to see it, but, then I look at me. They went after me like, they wanted me to go to jail for the rest of my life. Then it turned out I was innocent, very innocent. I had a friend that said, a very smart friend, he's a very wealthy man, knows the life, streetwise guy. He said, you have to be the most honest person anywhere in the world, because there's never been anybody who's been examined up and down. I had hundreds of thousands of pages of documents, millions of pages. With all of that, they found absolutely nothing wrong. Remember, tax returns, all his tax returns, they fought for years and years. And then the Supreme Court, I was surprised, they ruled I had to give my tax returns. I'm the only one that had to ever do that. But I had to give my tax returns. I gave my tax returns. They hired the best accounting firms in the world. They found nothing.
So yeah, no big thing on, Clinton coming down and testifying and answering questions about Epstein, when we really wouldn't have known anything about Epstein if it wasn't for him talking about the whole Epstein and the list. And we heard all the way up to 2020. And, then we had the whole fakery release with the phase 1. I mean, I don't know where to put all this and what the hell he's really thinking here at this point.
This is great, because now you have Boss kind of aligning, like he feels bad for Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton is one of these focus points in these files, and they're testifying at the end of the month. And never forget that the connection between Epstein's businesses and Clinton's businesses, they were intertwined. They had a part share and whatnot. So this is all part of the same cloth, and this is the art of the deal by Boss. He's kind of aligning himself over there so that the left can say, hey, look, Boss is in the Epstein files. Wait a minute. No, he's not. But, oh, look, he likes Bill Clinton. He likes a pedo. I can't believe our president, who isn't a pedo, likes a pedo. But wait a minute. No, our boss isn't the pedo. It's Bill Clinton. It's Barack Hussein Obama. It's the Bushes. And this is the revelations that are going to come out in the next few years. So this is building up to something big. And this is just showtime. I like the way Boss is handling himself.
Thoughts? Anybody else? I guess
space
not.
Space mute. No, I mean, it's just like I was saying in the beginning. We never got all this information until he started saying, it's a hoax and whatever. And I feel like the fact that he did push that. And I'm scrolling a couple pictures, and I dropped them for you as well, Hulk. Bree actually took these pictures of Zorro Ranch when she was passing by the area. So just showing my folks there as well what that desolate wasteland looked like.
Open link? Yeah, there it is. The Zorro Ranch right there. Thank you, Bree. Did you throw eggs?
You need a hell of an arm with that one. That was pretty far back for sure. What was I showing that?
And then Tron. Where do you put this with the whole Dan Scarvino? He just got married. Congratulations to him in the last week or so, if I remember right. But they're talking about April 2025 about the satanic baby art displayed at the U.S. ambassador's residence in Budapest, Romania, which was removed, and they fired the other person on this. But what do you think about that?
Yeah. No, this is great. She works for the International Art Department, essentially, for the world, going around all the embassies and checking out the artwork. And remember, guys, again, this ties back to Epstein. This ties back to WikiLeaks 2016, 2015 Podesta files with the artwork. And how do they funnel money? How do they do their money laundering? Well, artwork is some of it. And we've seen that with Hunter Biden and what else not. So the fact that she was not only a contestant on The Apprentice, so Boss got to interview her. Boss got to interview Dan's future wife in 2004. Absolutely fantastic. And she's really cool. So this is great that she's bringing out the art aspect of it. And remember, now she's got to go hit up the Denver airport with that kind of artwork. But, again, everyone in this movement, even Dan's wife here, has a spotlight on the artwork. So this is kind of cool. And we know that they always, they love their satanic artwork and all that fun stuff. So this is, again, tying in that aspect into the narrative. So this is well done.
And that she found it, which I find is cool.
Yep.
So let's get a little bit into Congress here for a quick second, or not Congress, but some of the issues that we've seen floating around this week. You want to take a crack at that one, Mr. Tron?
Yeah, let's go, guys. From Paul Sperry, breaking. Deputy AG Todd Blanche didn't tell the White House he was removing Ed Martin from the weaponization working group after he told Martin he was dismissing him as director during a December 10th meeting at DOJ, even though Trump personally approved Martin. A source familiar with White House operations told me the Russiagate Accountability Unit has been effectively idle for the past 55 days.
So this story's been going around a lot lately, and they're not really sure what's going on between Todd Blanche and Ed Martin, and it's been going back and forth on there. But here's both of them meeting today, 16 hours ago. So, them showing them solidarity together is a positive thing. We haven't seen anything come out with the stuff that they're doing if these cases are moving along to grand jury material and along with other stuff as they go through the prosecutions happening down with Judge Eileen Cannon down in Florida. So these are good things that I'm seeing as it bounces back and forth because everybody thought they were getting out of here. Did want to throw this out there as a public announcement right here. Would you read that for everybody, Mr. Tron?
Almost forgot Ed Martin was the former executive director of the Missouri Club for Growth in 2015. Trump has told us plenty of times about the rhinos of the globalist club for no growth. And there it is from Boss earlier there. There it is. Ed Martin worked.
Oops, where'd he go? Sorry. Where'd he go? Right there.
There it is. Ed Martin worked as organizer of Stop the Steal rallies and served as attorney and advocate for January 6 defendants, was executive director of the Missouri Club for Growth in 2015 and appointed President Eagle Form, removed from position in 2016.
So he was anti-Trump and going after some of these guys as we're just keeping score of the people that we're dealing with inside the administration. They all have histories. Go ahead.
Ooh. All right, and this is just for, whatever. Did you remember the video that Peter Tickton had put out, or a post that he put out? Because he said, and I don't know who's good and who's bad on Blanche and whatever, but Peter Tickton, Trump's longtime friend and attorney, said that Todd Blanche was the dude that's holding stuff up, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yep.
So just, we're just getting out facts here, guys. You guys can take them how you want, but those are what we know.
Yeah, so just want to show the good and the bad out there. I'd also like to make a quick note over here at Fulton County officials over here for the election side that just got their offices raided. Got 2 phone calls the hours before the raid was actually happening from the FBI head of Georgia office over there. That's why he was removed, and then they went ahead with the raid itself. So they are leaking information out from the FBI, and that's why that guy was actually removed, because he got 2 phone calls that the FBI is coming, and they're going to come and grab all this stuff. So those are interesting things to pay attention to. Also, it seems like Purdue is saying here that Brian Kemp halted the investigation in the 2020 election, which they went through the Supreme Court or the court systems and whatnot to lock a lot of the stuff down. It's coming out that it seems like Governor Kemp over here awarded 3 people positions inside this investigation that helped squash it, all got spots on the Supreme Court or a judgeship. So there's a pay for play to get a lot of this stuff that was coming out. Squash, make sure it didn't go through the actual proper channels and was basically trashed. And these guys all got Supreme Court of Georgia and stuff like that. So just some of the things that are coming out and what Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger are doing down there in Georgia as they're still trying to hold on to this investigation. The new revelations of this is we gave them 700 boxes and they came back and they told us they only have 656. Where the hell the other boxes go? They're lying. The FBI doesn't know what they're doing. That's the news story, by the way. Plus, we want the boxes back.
And then all the weird deaths, right? About, you know, the people that went after to investigate deaths, and then, hey, we can do it both ways, right? We can pay off people, we can kill them. It's like you take the bullet. What is it? Silver or lead, right? Plata o plomo.
Exactly. And they're also not wanting to turn over voter rolls and Social Security numbers over to the proper authorities so they can do a voter clean on what's going on in Georgia. Rathensperger and the rest of the guys are like, no, we don't want you to look. So that's going to take more court cases and probably another raid from the FBI. So that's going on over there. What else do we got? This is interesting. Space Shot, read that.
Oh, Roy then. And again, you know, is she being told to do this on purpose? I'm just saying, like, you guys can think about this aside. Is Pam Bondi being told to delay this stuff? Is my question as well. Just Human says, AG Pam Bondi has empowered the U.S. Attorney for Eastern District of Missouri, or Eastern Missouri, Thomas Albus, as a special prosecutor for the DOJ under 28 U.S.C. 515 and directed him to conduct voter fraud probes in all 94 districts. His first overt move was to convince a magistrate judge in Fulton County to authorize a search warrant for their 2020 election records. The FBI executed that search warrant last week under the supervision of FBI Deputy Director Andrew Bailey and DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, that was going to be my next question if it wasn't here. Why would the DNI be there? Aha. Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, we could tell you this, she's been given a task: investigate foreign interference in recent elections, including 2020. This means that components of both the DOJ and the ODNI are working on election fraud and foreign interference inquiries right now. Interesting. Yeah, it would have to be foreign, right? For her to be involved.
So here's another lead into this story. Read that for everybody.
All right. Kanikoa says, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard led an investigation into Puerto Rico's voting machines last May, according to a new Reuters report. Citing similar voting infrastructure across the United States, her office said the Office of the DNI identified, quote, extremely concerning cybersecurity and operational deployment practices that pose a significant risk to U.S. elections. ODNI said some vulnerabilities in Puerto Rico's voting machines stem from the use of insecure cellular technology, along with system flaws that could allow hackers deep access into critical election systems. Quote, given the ODNI's broad statutory authority to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to election security and our known work on understanding vulnerabilities to foreign and other malign interference, ODNI conducted an examination of electronic voting systems used in Puerto Rico's elections, an ODNI spokesperson said. In April of 25, Gabbard held a cabinet meeting, I don't even know, that her office had obtained evidence showing U.S. electronic voting systems have long been vulnerable to hacking. Quote, we have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, she said, adding that this supports the push for nationwide paper ballots so voters can trust the integrity of U.S. elections. No more friggin' computers. Thank you.
So she's been sitting on this thing from back in May. So we're talking less than a year, 10 months ago of this Puerto Rico election. So I thought that was interesting. And just an hour ago, John Solomon said this.
I believe that the President of the United States is soon going to be briefed by Tulsi Gabbard and other intelligence officials, based on my reporting, about additional intrusions, significant, large-scale intrusions into various forms of our election system. Now, I'm not talking about getting a machine and flipping the vote, but maybe getting enough of state voter databases that a foreign power could work with people on the ground in the United States to fill out fake registrations for people who are on dirty voter rolls. Those licenses that were sent into Chicago were going to be used to make absentee ballot applications, according to the FBI predicate. By the way, Chris Wray's FBI didn't look at that. They shut it down. If a foreign power was that far into the election databases of state systems that they could figure out what driver's licenses to send here, the next question becomes, who were they working with on the ground? Who was going to file those ballot requests? I think that's why Tulsi Gabbard was down in Georgia, why you might see her in Arizona, why the FBI will probably be in Arizona, and why the president's about to get a briefing. And all of this new information could have a profound effect on the Save America Act, which is, all right, some people say it feels like we're doing an awful lot. There's not a real problem. These next revelations, if the president were to declassify them after he gets debriefed on them in the next few days, they could educate senators and House members and give them a greater inspiration to maybe go ahead and do the voter ID and the citizenship check. That is a big moment. Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are driving this. It's been below the radar, but they're doing some really big stuff. Now the president's going to find out what it is, and then at that point, the opportunity comes to declassify it. Let's see what it is. There's one other element to this. If government officials lied to us after the 2020 election, there's still an opportunity in some of those cases to pursue criminal cases against them. We'll see where it all comes out, but that's what's going on in the background of the Save America Act debate.
So yeah, might be taking a visit over to Arizona. That would be interesting because Pima County, or Pima, I can't remember the name of the county over there in Arizona, still has a whole bunch of election ballots they haven't turned over. So it's just interesting. Let's see if they can deliver this.
Bring some nunchucks with you. I don't even know what state that is. That freaking Arizona? I don't even know.
That's Arizona, that guy, Nunchuck Boy down there.
What a dork.
Oh, what a waste of an attorney general that was down there. So that was that. And then again, we still have the whole fight with John Thune, which they've separated the SAVE Act. They went ahead and threw the budget out there. It's been passed. Democrats got a bunch of stuff that they wanted, transgender this and that. And they got a big chunk of stuff. So Trump let it to go through. They pulled the SAVE Act off the top of it because I guess he didn't want to shut the government down. But they are dancing around the topic because even Thune was when they were talking and they were start asking if they were going to get the vote done for the SAVE Act, and he started him and hawing about it that they needed to get transportation or this done and that done. We got a lot of things on our plate. We got to get. I'm like, dude, vote on the shit. Let's get it done. Quit playing games and get it to the floor. We need the voter ID out there. And a lot of the people are talking about the filibuster things. And Mr. Space Shot, would you read the top part for me?
I sure can. Again, this is how a talking filibuster works. You expire all the speeches through exhaustion or by application of the two-speech rule. At that point, with the presence of a quorum, the leader can put the question at simple majority. Cloture, 60 votes, is not required because you've broken the filibuster. There is no rule change. So
Thune has the power to push it through if he really wants to get basically a simple majority to vote through if they want to vote for the SAVE Act to get that thing voted through. So we'll see what happens. They talk about nuking the filibuster, which, again, according to these guys and a lot of people I've read, they don't need to do that. There's a lot simpler ways to do it if the Republicans want to stay up. This is coming out, making the rounds because CNN is telling the truth again.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a non.
So you notice that they're not showing Republican or Democrat. They are showing voting group. So that tells you it's a bipartisan thing. Like Republicans, it's almost 90%. On the Democrat side, it's damn near like 76% or something. It's way up there. They want this thing done. So we'll see if they get it done. I don't know what to do with this. They're playing games and, boss is getting some stuff done, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Nation wants it. Everybody.
Nation.
Yeah, and you got to encourage the leftists over there to go for voter ID because we don't want the Republicans to cheat in the 2028 election. Let's go.
Exactly. What else we got to throw in here? Barry Loudermilk from Georgia, 11, says he's not going to run for re-election. He's out. Yeah, he ran the January 6th committee and did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So we're seeing a lot more of these people peel out and not want to rerun for the next election that is coming up for this next cycle. So I find that very interesting. Some of these people are getting out. ShamWow guy is making a freaking big impact. It seems like he's going to overthrow his challenge over in Texas. Let's get some ShamWow in here really quick.
Hey, it's Vince. I'm running for Congress against this guy. Stop having a politician that's worse than Biden. That's a discretionary funding. Instead, vote for me, a guy who's not half dead. I'm going to soak up the swamp, clean the house, and pick up those liberal tears at the same time. I'm going to slap chop the nuts out of the woke, making less blue-haired commies and more red-blooded Americans. Vote for me so I can represent you and the ones that can't stand up for themselves.
Vote for ShamWow!
Paid for by offer Vince ShamWow Shlomi for Congress.
Would you vote for him, John?
Yeah,
Probably. I don't know, but this timeline's crazy, man. We got all kinds of celebrities happening here. Like, what's going on, man? The simulation is falling on itself.
Exactly. As long as we're talking about election stuff, Supreme Court decided not to hear the challenge from California. They said, we're not going to touch that with the 10-foot pole in Texas. You can go ahead and do what you want. So that set off Texas. So that rule's going to change. We still had the whole issue in, is it Ohio? That they didn't want to change their voting district from from the Democrats back over to the Republican to eat up the more seats, and that whole thing fell apart like 6 months ago. So we got a bunch of spineless Republicans that are out there. So this is happening. Texas got theirs. They lost. We lost this one. So that kind of sucks. And also, and since Virginia's just changed its dictatorship to Democrat over there, they're putting all these Second Amendment laws in there about weapons and this and that. And they're also going to go ahead and do the redistricting, and they got the okay from the Supreme Court. So that's happening. So that's going to give them a little bit more of a change out there. But we are seeing some of the voting districts change numbers because a lot of them are getting deported. So we'll see how that's going to turn out here in our election cycle as we come up here. What else do we got here? Read this for everybody, Mr. Space Shot.
Dear chief election officials, my bad. To prepare for the 2026 U.S. midterm elections, your election partners at the FBI, DOJ, DHS, USPIS, and EAC would like to invite you to a call where we can discuss our preparations for the cycle, as well as updates, resources we can provide to you and your staff. The call will be on Wednesday, February 25th, 2 to 3 Eastern, and will be for chief election officials. You may designate a proxy to attend in your place if you're not available. On Wednesday, March 4th, we will hold a similar call for members of the EAC's local leadership council. Look forward, blah, 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 blah. Kelly Hardiman. FBI
By
election.
who?
FBI election executive. Is that a new?
Yes.
Sounds new.
So that went to everybody. Anybody on the list got that one, that if you're running a state election official or whatever, Secretary of States, all those people out there, you're going. So they're definitely making sure everybody's going to be on the same page and not have any issues. I'm not sure if we're going to get our paper ballots and, no digital voting or anything. We'll see. So that's the last piece I got about election. Anybody want to throw anything else? Anything you want to talk about before I kind of change subject really quick?
I would just say by that right there alone, it looks something to be very much proactive compared to in the past. So I'm happy to see that, but of course, there's a lot more work to be done before midterms.
Exactly.
So the only thing I'll throw in there is that what I'm hearing already now coming through some grapevine communications behind the scenes over here in Europe is that European forces are already at work. France and the UK specifically, some of their assets are already at work to try to influence the U.S. elections against Donald Trump.
Yep, I hear that too. Also, a big thing will happen somewhere around right before the election time with the EU and the social media companies that the administration won't be able to act fast enough on. Some of the guys are talking about that thing being set up. Don't know exactly what it is, but I've heard it from multiple people of one of those October surprises.
What they're also afraid of is that Donald Trump is going to use potential military issues, national security issues to call off the midterms. And there have been comments by White House officials about similar type situations. So just offhanded comments, but whether they're jokes or whether they're forecasting, we don't know.
Look at this. Ryan Root sentenced to life in prison in Trump's 2024 assassination attempt by Florida by Judge Eileen Cannon.
No connection to Ukraine whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Life? Is that a 20 years life, or is that the rest of your life type of life?
No, that's for your permanently. Yeah, they didn't seek the death penalty, but permanent. Nice. Permanent incarceration. And then over here, even Fox News got Brett Baer demands answers for Kash Patel about Bredler shooting. Where are the cell phones? Why don't we know who he's talking to? What exactly happened? I feel like we haven't gotten anywhere in this whole Butler picture. And I don't think we have, because we heard a little bit of international stuff about this particular operation happening. The dude's dead. But I find this extremely, concerning that more of this information hasn't come out about exactly what was going on and the lack of support from our government to allow this to happen. I hope this comes out, but I don't know if it will.
You got that, and then you got the Charlie incident as well. Two scenarios that we don't have good answers on.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing that one out too.
9/11's coming in saying, "Hold my beer." 9/11, building
There's
7.
nothing to see there. There's nothing to see there, man. There's nothing in the files. Look, we've been through the files. There's nothing in the files.
So just want to throw this out here because even though we know James Bannon is inside the Epstein stuff, where he's talking to Epstein about how to get the pedophile rap away from him and get him in a better light, those sort of things. All that came out there. But he is still getting information coming out with whistleblowers. James O'Keefe has picked up another one over here of another guy. There's like the 7th guy out of the administration that came out that says nobody's going to jail, nobody in the Minnesota stuff, no Epstein stuff, no Russiagate stuff. Nobody's ever going to go jail for any of these crimes or anything like that. And so far, that's been 100% true because we haven't seen anything change yet. I mean, maybe the administration's got something up their sleeve and it's going to become an election this. I don't know here at this point. I'm just saying more of these type of whistleblowers have come out and saying that nothing's really going to happen. And then the whole talk about Tulsi Gabbard DNI with the whistleblower that's over there, they're talking about the news is going crazy about it, that she's hiding this and she's classified it so nobody can see this whistleblower complaint. Oh, anyways, a couple of the guys over in Congress, they went and looked at it and they said, this thing is total bullshit. I can't believe it's even made it this far. So the Tulsi Gabbard stuff is more of a psyop thing here at this point. But, I mean, thoughts from you guys. I mean, we've seen Kash Patel, the Dan Bonginos. We've seen what Pam Bondi's been doing itself. I mean, in a domestic, side of seeing justice happen in America, I see it lacking here at this point. We have a lot of disclosure, a lot of information, making a lot of connections, but I don't see any justice yet. Thoughts?
Nope, you're absolutely right. There's no justice as of now. Nope, nada, not a piece of it. But take a look around.
Timing though. Timing is everything. And again, I think people are a little bit naive to think that Kash Patel, who has established himself for many, many years, is just going to walk in and sit on evidence and not, save the children in quotes. He wrote all those books. He knows he's very thorough on the subject of criminality here. So, again, timing is everything, and this is building up to something bigger. Everyone connects to everything. Treat it like the mob, and let's just wrap this up before 28 so we can enjoy this golden age while we rock and roll.
And just to point out, remember Todd Blanche, who did the whole Epstein release and says that we got grand jury material and some court cases, blah, 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 we got to get through. And then the one guy asked, is anybody going to be held accountable for this? And he just basically said no. And we're not pursuing any charges in the Epstein cases here at this point. And that's from Todd Blanche. So
that I think is the biggest missing thing. So, okay, we got this document dump without a critical piece of information that we're missing, which is what cases or what pursuit, what investigations were opened.
Yeah.
Was this stuff looked at? We don't have insight to those cases because the FBI cannot disclose that information if such an investigation did not result in an indictment, did not result in charges, etc., that they cannot release that. So the evidence might be there, and potentially a judge or a jury, if something was brought to a grand jury's attention, would be able to review that evidence. But it's going to be sealed. So it's unfortunate we can't now. So we have to take their word for it, unless something changes in the law that forces the FBI to disclose that.
Yeah, and the other thing is also the Clintons have said that they want to come out. They're going to testify, but they want to do it live, public. They want it released. And some people are saying, "Oh, Comer's starting to freak out because he doesn't want to do it live, and he's only going to keep it recorded." But I mean, his track record is everything that he has done. He's released the transcripts first and the video evidence afterwards. So it's saying that he's not going to do this. But again, Clintons are common. They're good talkers. Are they going to only talk about the things of, Trump did this and, talk about Trump that and these sort of things and keep it one-sided? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But they said they are coming to talk, and they want to talk publicly in front of the cameras.
Okay, so they're going to come in with their spin that they've
prepared. Exactly.
But are they going to answer the questions? Are they going to, when they get questioned and however many 2 minutes or 1 minute or 15 seconds, you're over your time. Shut up.
They're going to answer nothing. You know why?
It's going to be a circus.
February 14th, 2019. And this has been proven by recent reporting as well. Chatter, Bill and Hillary's public health will begin to rapidly deteriorate. And by all accounts, both of them it is. He was on a, what do they call that? One of those breathing machines or whatever at an airport. And recently she's not doing so good as well. So interesting timing of it all.
Oh, we'll be in war with Iran by then anyway. So.
Yeah. Yay. Let's get these last couple of stories out of here. I think, is this the one I want to start on? Okay.
Sounds like there
so
is
again, Trump has come out. Come on, stop talking. Won't allow me to pause it. Even Tom Holman, they said that they've basically, I wouldn't say paused, but scaled back is the word that they're using. When Tom Holman had talked over there in Minnesota that they pulled 700 officers and sent them back out to other states or whatever. There is still like 2,400 officers there that are still doing enforcement for the illegal immigrants. They've made a deal with local government. They're saying that if you want, we'll scale back. You have to allow us to have access to the jails and the criminal records, and we're going to go through and pick everybody out that's inside your jail system, including all the new ones you do. Anybody that's on parole, let us know all that information, which they did do, and they allowed them to gain access to that. And then Tom Holman did step up and say that they scaled back their operations here. But Trump is saying deportation policy is only going into cities if the mayors or governors ask and say, please, and adding, I don't want to go in and force ourselves into the city, even if the numbers are terrible. So I don't know exactly where to put this on there, if they're going to scale back some. Yeah, scale back in some of the Democratic cities. Maybe this is just him playing the game out there while they're still going to do behind the scene operations, because I guarantee none of that stuff is going to really change or stop. But I just wanted to get your guys' thought process on this.
They've started pulling the resources out of Minnesota.
Again, that was only 700 out of the 3,200 officers they have there.
No, I understand. It's political optics. It's political optics, and that's the thing is he got whacked politically, and he's got to scale these guys back. He's not going to stop. We're not going to stop. I mean, the immigration thing has got to be taken control of.
Because the other thing,
the impact of the elections.
Because the other thing that came out due to the budget deals and stuff, they were going to require these officers to wear body cams, which I'm 100% okay throwing a body cam on everybody. But to be honest with you, I think all the politicians should have a body cam on themselves, in my opinion, because, I mean, anytime one of these lobbyists come over close to them, the thing should go off with a red light, dude, and start recording exactly what everything is saying. So I'm perfectly okay with openness as long as they all want to wear that sort of thing. And when they're in Congress and they're meeting with their people or whatever, have the cameras on. Exactly.
A page or an intern over a desk in the committee room. What? What?
It starts recording 10 seconds before a lobbyist comes in. I mean, it should, but they had to do that. But here's the thing too. Waltz told him like, oh, hey, we're gonna work with you and we'll let you take like the worst of the worst. But then with a day or two later, it was already like, yeah, no, I never. He's being resistant again. So again, anybody give me one person give me any good reason why Tim Walz was brought in with Kamala Harris, and I'll shut up about it. Okay.
Because they didn't have any money in the Democratic Party, and Tim Walz was willing enough to allow them to slush fund all the money that they were getting from the Somalis and the NGOs that were there to fund the election. So that's why he got picked, because he had the money. Now they're going back and looking at it, and he's kind of panicking here in a little bit, and so he's getting real quiet.
Ding, ding, ding. And here we are back in Minneapolis with what? Oh, hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, just in that same exact area. So big blinking neon light. Ding, ding, ding.
Exactly. What else do we got here? JD Vance will lead up a new anti-fraud task force that exposed fraud in California and multiple other states itself.
That's the presidential election right there, baby. That's your forecasted presidential election.
Right? You're gonna run an election against your competition upcoming. So yeah, he's crooked.
He's crooked.
So remember that the disinformation op is coming, and they're going to support this guy on the right, and they're going to make him look like shit on the left. Prepare for it. It's coming. Something bad is going to happen, and it's going to be horrific. You're like, oh shit. And I don't know where to put it, but I know it's happening. So that's going on over there in California. What else do we want to throw in the last couple of pieces over here? And then we do have Lee Zeldin from the EPA on California over here with Trump's administration saying that we're going to help get through the regulatory process. EPA is on the ground, and they're talking to the victims and help facilitating a faster action for them to start building their houses, because we don't want any 15-minute cities. As long as we're talking about fraud really quickly, we got Gavin Newsom decided to show up next to a train over here, train to nowhere, where they're still not going to build the high-speed rail, but they lost their $4 billion from the government because they want their money back. And so he's out there promoting this new private endeavor that's going to help support this train to nowhere that they can't build. So he seems a little scared, in my opinion. So that's where things coming from. I thought it was funny he's out there dancing. As long as we're talking about elections out here, since the California two-party rule, where the 1 and 2 out of the primaries are going to go to the election win. So right now, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco are in first place, 1 and 2s, as both of them being Republicans, and none of the Democrats are even close to it. So this is actually pretty good. We'll see what changes here for the next. Yeah,
this is Swalwell's. Oh, that would be awesome.
He's not doing very good. So it might be 2 Republicans in the runoff for our primaries, dude. So this might get interesting in California, dude. Get rid of the Democrats and have a Republican in there. I'll take either one of those, Bianco or Hilton. There's some other people out there that's running too, but none of them else are getting Spencer Pratt. Yeah, he's a good guy, but I don't think he's going to make it out there. It also did come out from the Los Angeles Times that Mayor Karen Bass was concerned about the legal liabilities of her failures of combating the Palisades fire. She wanted the findings softened or removed. And just to remind everybody, the insurance companies that supply insurance to these fire victims in California decided to join the lawsuit against Gavin Newsom and California that they caused the fire. Because that means they don't have to pay out.
Yeah,
so that's not looking pretty good. It's not looking good at all.
They didn't do their cleanup, and wasn't there something about the water too? I know that was Hawaii for sure as well, but
There was a reservoir that was left empty. 17 million gallons was left empty, and plus they didn't. They let loose like 40% of the fire not captains, 40% of the fire force and sent them all home due to they're spending money on illegals and DEI stuff on that whole homeless thing. They ran out of money.
Remember that the LA fire chief was under a lot of political pressure at the time.
Okay, we did have a huge trafficking. I'm going to do these quickly. Huge trafficking thing happened in Walnut, California that led out to different areas in the state and other states itself. They're like 150 adults, 13-year-old children. Big operation. They did another one in Georgia. So these trafficking cases and what's going on, this is probably one of the biggest one. I'm not going to go too much into it, but this is where they start doing the baby operations and whatnot. They have kids inside the United States and, of course, brothels and all those sort of things. So that stuff is still going around there. I'm trying to find my other story that I wanted to end with over here. SAVE Act. We know you wanted to do that. I'm looking for the biohazard stuff over here. Oh, EPA is getting pretty close to nixing anything that has to do with the deaf stuff coming up here very shortly with the manufacturers. So we're probably a couple of months away from them absolving any of that crap for the EPA stuff that came out of CARB, California. It's really close, and they're coming up with the manufacturers to get rid of a lot of that stuff. So that's huge things that are happening. Aren't cooling out there. Waymo, if you guys didn't know, Waymo has guys in the Philippines that drive the cars out there, if you're wondering out there. When their cars break down, where is my other thing? I'm looking for the biohazard stuff.
What was that one? Drop that one.
Okay, so this one right here, this biolab case, there's multiple locations where this was happening outside. So over here in Las Vegas, this was right next to an Air Force base, and they ran a biolab out of it, removed the biolab, put people in there, started renting it like an Airbnb every so often. People get sick, they go out to the casinos, and they get all these weird viruses going all over Las Vegas. So that was happening over there. So that was like the second part of that story. I'm looking for the other half of itself. I have it here somewhere. Washington Post got mass layoffs. Where's the other half of my story here? Oh, yeah, the reporter that got kidnapped, the mom. I'm trying to find this one. Trying to find the important one.
I guess they're waiting for...
Okay, so this biolab over here, this thing is where it caught my attention over here. This is a California lab here and also in Nevada. So local authorities, they get a report of this hose sticking out of the wall itself, and they go out and check out this weird hose sticking out of the wall. So they go inside and they find this Chinese biolab. So they arrest everybody and they bring in the local authorities and shit like that. And they start cataloging all this stuff. They're like, holy shit, there's some bad stuff in here. So they're like, let's call the FBI. We'll have the FBI come down. So the FBI replies back, no, we're not going to show up. They're like, what? No, we're not going to show up whatsoever. So they're like, okay, we'll call CDC and all those guys out there for the federal government. So CDC shows up, and they spend about a couple hours there, and they leave. And they said, yeah, go ahead and process everything and go ahead and burn it down. They're like, there's biohazard, this and that. We're not set up for it. They go, we're not covering any of this. It's your problem. We're going to leave. So they're like, damn it. So they go through all the training, they get all the stuff together, they go into the rooms, they start going through the containers and stuff like that. They're finding stuff that's got the labeled Ebola and shit like that. They freak out. They call back the CDC and they're like, dude, there's Ebola stuff in here. We don't want to burn this. I don't want to kill a bunch of people. What do we do? And they go, we're not coming because all those containers are sealed. So we know if there's Ebola there. We left it there. End of story. They left it up to local agencies to get rid of all that crap. They're like, dude, we're not prepared for this. So again, I don't know exactly what's going on with the timeline and how long this has been going on and things that they've been looking at, but I was just like, the local authorities are asking for help to come get rid of the biohazard stuff, especially the stuff that says Ebola on it. So I wanted to end with that on there because that was a pretty big operation out there. And this is the part from the Chinese as they're going through, looking through some of the stuff that was here in Las Vegas. So Las Vegas didn't have a problem over here going through their stuff.
Sure, this is legit.
Yeah, two stories here.
That's just a regular little freezer.
No, it was in a freaking Airbnb.
Oh, okay. So they really weren't. Okay. What's
and then
the CCP link?
It was run by CCP. They went in and there all the Chinese writing, all the stuff all over inside the equipment they had there, and the records were kept handwritten in Chinese.
Okay.
So yeah, it was Chinese, and they arrested the guy too. That's where I'm going to end my side on the biolabs or whatnot there. But wild stuff right here. There's the house right there that they stayed in, started doing Chinese biolab weird shit out there.
That was the biolab house?
Yeah.
Just the house? Oh
it's just a house. They ran it in an Airbnb.
But Airbnb has that feature where you can stay in those kind of weird places. So, maybe. Oh, whatever.
Okay. Share your screen, Mr. Rdoc. It's your turn.
Okay. You guys doing your...
Yes.
Hulk, I gotta do the, regardless, I gotta do the kid guide. Absolute bust. So let's see if you got that one on there.
I got not enough.
Not a kid guide? Might be in a different area down.
Yeah, negatory.
All right, we'll split up.
I don't have 1,500 people watching.
All right, ladies and stop. I'll mute for you guys too here. Bing. All right, folks, we're just going to do a quick adsies here, and then we're going to kick it over to Mr. Rdoc. And this is an interesting one, of course. Oh, here we go. Bing. Oh, of course. Failed. Here we go. Got to restart it. Ding. Ding. Oh, boy. Here we go. Sorry for the delay, ladies and gentlemen. 1 second. Ding, 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 ding. Here we go. Let's see. Hopefully it'll work this time. Nope, not working this time. Rumble's really messing with me. Refresh everything here. Sorry about that. Ding, 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 ding. Plus, I read faster than Hulk anyway, so should be good to go. The heck is going on with this? Not letting me do it. All right, one more time, guys. If it doesn't work, I'll just do it. Bing. All right, here we go, guys. All right, parents. Real talk for a second. America's about to hit a huge milestone. We're coming up on America's 250th birthday. 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever seen. This is perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters, not just fireworks and hot dogs, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday, and it's honestly a great way to introduce kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why the ideas they fought for still matter today. The guide sends kids back to the moment when brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising kids who know where this country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you'll want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free with a special offer. All you need to pay is $2 for shipping and handling. Head over to freeusabirthday.com. That's freeusabirthday.com. And the Kids Guide to America's 250th birthday for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure the next generation knows it. Boom. Okay.
That's true.
Are we ready? Are we ready?
A little glitch. Yeah, it kept doing this thing where I had to keep refreshing, but we're good. And I got a F-14, something like that on the screen. We're good, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Oh, actually, no, it's a Rafael fighter.
Danger zone.
I believe that's a EU fighter.
Lafayette.
All right, so
It sounds
we're going to
good.
roll through some of these things pretty fast. We're not going to go into depth on some of these things like I typically do because we just have too much to get to. And hopefully we will roll through it all and it'll make sense. All right, so this just dropped. I thought this was interesting that you dropped Hulk, that the U.S. since 2014, so Europe has been in this tizzy. They don't have weapons. Ukraine has drained their military. They keep talking big. They trying to get big money and so on and so forth. And the Russians are talking with Steve Bassant of the Treasury about paying the $1 billion fee to join the Trump Board of Peace out of their Russian frozen assets, and the Europeans are like, no. So this is interesting. The fact that the United States military-industrial complex has been buying out the European military-industrial complex for 10 years now plus, and so yeah, good luck on reestablishing your military-industrial complex, which is what Ursula von der Leyen and the European globalist elite named in the Epstein files want to do. All right. JD Vance said something interesting. Let's listen in, and I'll turn the volume up here so we can hear. Did you play this clip, or you had this clip? I can't remember. I thought I saw you flip past it, Hulk. So let's. Oops.
What's happening culturally in Europe? What's their crackdowns on free speech? And they just look less and less like we do.
Yeah.
And there's a real question about whether there's a massive shift happening now in terms of world alliances long term.
Well, it's definitely, I think, a new world order. I think the president has sought to it. There's a new world order in trade. There's a new world order in globalization and the way that we invest in our economy versus, foreign supply chains. There's a new world order, and that the president is willing to shake up some old alliance structures. I mean, NATO, I think, is much different because of the president's leadership than it was 10 years ago. It was sort of coasting. It was effectively a protectorate of the United States of America. Obviously, you saw what happened in Venezuela. So, yeah, the president is putting a stamp on world history, but fundamentally in an America First way.
Okay, so this was an interview that Megyn Kelly scored, of course, and this was very interesting. So definitely new world order, not coded, not implied, said while discussing Europe, et cetera, et cetera. So take it for what it is, but that is got the Europeans, shitting in their boots. All right. French police raided the Paris office of Elon Musk's social media platform X. This is on February 3rd. They summoned Musk for questioning in April as part of an expanding investigation into claims of algorithmic bias on the platform. So this is coming from a Reuters original article. I'm not going to go into detail, but we will surely keep an eye on this story over the coming weeks. Panama rejected. So this is a Panamanian court, I believe, if I remember correctly. The Supreme Court invalidated the C.K. Hutchison port concession deal, which has angered the Chinese, and the Chinese basically have threatened that Panama will rue the day. This is again spheres of influence, zones of control. This is all about spheres of influence and zones of control.
They used the same thing on the mining company. Then they used it on the Panama Canal, the Supreme Court for Panama.
So this is another thing that we're not going to play the whole video here, but basically the Colombian president, he was bad-mouthing Donald Trump the other day, and then Trump kind of threatened him a little bit, and maybe with the same treatment that down in Venezuela also did the same kind of little threat to Mexico and Cuba and a couple other places. Everything in our Western Hemisphere sphere of control. Colombian President Petro had a meeting. Hey, he came out of that meeting. First line of drug trafficking does not live in Colombia. He lives in Dubai, Madrid, Miami. They are the bosses of the bosses. I gave President Trump their names. So this has got the Western leaders and some of these globalist elites all in panic mode as well. We'll keep an eye on this story and see where this goes, but it all fits together with kind of the narrative of taking down the globalist elite network structures. Related to Cuba, I don't think I'll play this actually, but actually there may be a little tidbit in there. Maybe I will play it just real quick. And volume up. I wish I didn't have to do this every single time.
President Donald Trump has hinted at possible negotiations with senior Cuban leaders amid rising tensions between the two countries.
This statement comes days after he threatened to restrict oil supply to Havana. While addressing the media, he described Cuba as a failing nation that has lost support from Venezuela. He even added that Washington is in talks with the highest people in Cuba to make a deal. However, he did not reveal any details regarding this deal.
Well, Cuba's a failing nation. It has been for a long time, but now it doesn't have Venezuela to prop it up. So we're talking to the people from Cuba, the highest people in Cuba, to see what happens. So I think we're going to make a deal with Cuba.
And they are in good discussions. Haven't heard anything more. Iran is kind of taking the front seat there. I thought this post earlier in the week when we watched this crash happen to both the Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we also already have talked about gold and silver, whatever. But I thought this was just an absolute hilarious thing. The markets are in turmoil. We're not going to go into detail on it. We just don't have time. But we did get one of the first bank failures that happened and in the U.S. that was announced just the other day. And also we have Europe very concerned about the financial collapse, an imminent financial collapse. And this is UN's Gutierrez warning about this. So the budget process in Europe and having to make their decision between guns and butter and austerity measures for the socialist Europeans and all of the money that's been flowing through the corrupt global elites into places like Ukraine and elsewhere is the chickens are going to come home to roost. This report came out as well. December PPI inflation did surge past 4. This is producer price index. So Treasury yields adjusted, and we'll have to keep an eye on what the Fed is going to do with the new Fed chairman being appointed. Was it Walsh? Was that the name, Walsh?
Yes.
And so we'll keep an eye on this story. We'll get into it in more detail.
He's pro crypto too.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there's a lot of control going on, a lot of warfare. Remember I told you guys back in December of 2020, January 2025, when Trump got elected, and we talked about Greenland and everything. I said spheres of influence, zones of control. You're going to see financial warfare. You're going to see everybody, the great global powers and those that are in between, all fighting for a little piece of resource, a little piece of their pie, make sure they secured, got everything readied up. Once all that's done and they've kind of parted out the world and said, okay, you're not going to go past here, you're not going to go past there, this is mine, this is yours, okay, then they will come to a global security arrangement and the overall umbrella that will govern the world for at least the next 100 years.
That's New World Order?
World Order. That's the New World Order. And so is it multipolar? Is it unipolar? It's definitely multipolar. We'll get into that in a little bit. And I think we're seeing that. And the Europeans are left out. And that's got them all upset. All right. So just jumping into a quick little story here related to Hungary. Because what was this one? Maybe I put this in the wrong place. I think I did put this in the wrong place. This is in the wrong place. This is talking about Ehud Barak. Okay, wrong place. We'll come back to that one if we remember it. This is the one that was supposed to be there. Thank you, Mr. President, says Viktor Orban in response to a post by Donald J. Trump. Now, Orban is in a EU attack election fight for his government, and they're going after him hard. The European Union is going after him very, very hard, and they want him replaced. They want Fico replaced. They're doing everything they can to remove him. The Ukrainian globalist media network is after Viktor Orban, and Donald Trump jumped in there and made this post talking about how Viktor Orban is, basically, I don't know how you say it, Muga, make Hungary great again. He's like, 100%. He's honored to endorse Viktor again. Total endorsement for re-election as Prime Minister of Hungary. He will never let the people of Hungary down. So that's an important endorsement. But the Europeans are still going to, fight after this guy. So we'll see keep an eye on that and see how it goes. We'll come back to this little piece here in a second. Switching to Romania really quick, a story we've covered in the past. Some big news came out today. I think this is today. Yeah, is this today? Yeah, February 4th, yesterday. U.S. House Judiciary Committee confirms that the European Union interfered in 8 European elections. Slovakia, the Netherlands, France, Romania, Moldova, and Ireland. We covered Moldova, we covered Romania, we covered France, we covered Geert Wilders in the Netherlands. Not so much Slovakia, a little tiny bit, maybe way back when. But Romania in particular is critical. And so, yeah, they've got a little picture here. Now, Ireland was expected to go a certain direction, and it didn't. France, of course, we saw the games being played around with Le Pen and Macron and so on and so forth. And then Romania, of course, was the big one we spent some time covering here. And so with that news being released, we have fury again in Romania. The Ceausescu, who we've talked about on the show, has basically said, and pretty much the statement that remember, it was all a Russia hoax. The European Union and the elites tried to push this Russia hoax because their candidate was not going to win, and they tried to do a media campaign on TikTok to kind of screw the election vote and the way it was voting. Well, he ended up getting the majority of the votes, and they said, oh no, it's Russia. Well, it was never Russia. It was always the European Union, and now it's come out that indeed it was. And so they are calling for a new presidential election, new parliamentary elections, and we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on that story for you guys. All right, we got time to jump into Iran because this is a number-leading story. And, of course, here's an Epstein piece related to Iran that some documents included in the files was that he was involved in selling weapons.
That's fucking funny.
To Iran, Chinese weapons. So there you go, Chinese.
Khashoggi's in there too. That's funny.
Yeah, Adnan Khashoggi. So he was tied in with Adnan Khashoggi, and if you know, and of course, you know, then by then on the payroll of Israel's Mossad and close to the intelligence apparatus of the Saudis, and that's where Khashoggi was originally. Now this Adnan. So Jamal was the nephew. Yeah, he was the nephew, and Jamal was also involved as a KSI asset, and he was helping to foment and create Arab Spring, Arab revolutions, and that was what he was going to try to do in Saudi Arabia with the Muslim Brotherhood. And so, yeah, they took him out and meshed in British intelligence networks. British intelligence networks, ties to the UK intelligence apparatus, involvement in Iran and Israel and the whole Middle East and China and so on and so forth. This is part of that. I can't go into the detail on Crown Temple Corp and the whole tie-in between what I will call Jewish Zionist movement, the whole Rothschild history and all that jazz. But if you've been listening to the show for a number of years, you should be well armed. If not, we will cover more detail, I'm sure, because this is not going away anytime soon, some of this stuff. Although they're trying to cover it up. We'll get into that in a second. There's another little tidbit in there related to an email exchange between Anthony Pompliano and the name redacted, but this is part of the Kevin Ponders in there, so that's really fascinating. This is all Mark Epstein, FBI, so they're all talking about some things, and so this is, I think, where Mark was being, said, hey, give me $10,000 or, and I'll stop bothering you. I'm an IRGC informant, blah, blah, blah. I went to university here, etc. Trump had sex with a girl under 18. This type of stuff is the kind of stuff that we are looking at without any context. So you don't know if the FBI concluded this is bogus or there's legitimacy. That we don't know if they interviewed any people or followed up on this. We don't know anything about this. For all we know, this is a scurrilous bullshit message. And but the Democrats and a lot of the Ukrainian NAFOs, remember them? They're latching onto this stuff and they're running with the Russia Trump hoax narrative again. Putin's spy asset is Donald Trump and Epstein. We'll get into that in a second. So Senator Graham went a little bit interesting. I'm just going to play this clip because his words speak for themselves as to why this guy has to be replaced. South Carolina, do your job. Get somebody who is not just 100% absolute neocon warmonger because he's insane. Okay, let's listen in.
We're moving in a lot of assets. We know that warships, airplanes, we know that all of that is moved in. He says they are negotiating, they're having conversation.
Right.
The Ayatollah says if you strike here, it's going to spark a regional war. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's a defining moment in his presidency. Ronald Reagan went to the Berlin Wall and he said, tear down this wall. He didn't say, could you make it lower? When asked about what the protesters should do, President Trump said, keep protesting, help is on the way. If this regime is still standing, the day after, if we pull the plug, will be 100 years of chaos. I have every confidence that President Trump will do what he promised to the people. Help is on the way, keep protesting. If this regime falls, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, they all go. It'd be the biggest change since the fall of the Berlin Wall. But here's one thing I know. Donald Trump is Ronald Reagan plus in my mind. Venezuela, soon Cuba. The one thing you can't do as president, talk like Reagan and act like Obama. There's no deal to be done here. These people are not trustworthy. The protesters in the street are not protesting for a better nuclear deal. They're protesting for a better life. And if they win the day, we have a chance to have friends with the people of Iran. The Ayatollah will never be our friend. He's a religious Nazi. President Trump, you said help is on the way. That has to be real. It has to be real soon. Do it, Mr. President. The people of Iran are begging you to be on their side. You have done it so good. You are Reagan plus. This is the defining moment in your presidency. Stand by the people. The Ayatollah falls. The region changes. Bigger than the fall of the Berlin Wall. No more international terrorists. This regime has American blood on its hands since 1979. You got the Houthis, you got Hezbollah killing Americans. Bring this regime down because the people want it down. You don't have to invade the country, but help on the way means military strikes against the infrastructure that is killing the Iranian people. Go after the ones who are killing the people.
Okay, that's good enough. He goes on and on and on. All right, here's the key things to understand. Two things. One, the Iranians have basically said, you strike us and we will, it's war. We're not going to treat it as anything except war. We've been through this before with you, etc. The negotiations were supposed to happen in Oman, I think yesterday, and they got canceled. The United States presented Iran with their demands, and Iran said, no, screw you guys. We're not going to agree to this. We agreed to talk about our nuclear enrichment program. We agreed to talk and negotiate and sit down about, any kind of weapons production and things like that. Nuclear program. None of this other stuff, including like you must limit your military, you must do this, that's you interfering with our sovereign rights, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The other thing to understand is that all of the analysts that are out there that are credible, that are not spinning, are talking about how the Iranian regime is too solidified. Just removing one or two heads or certain military leaders is not going to, even Khomeini himself is not going to stop it. Why? Because it's not a political environment. And this is what Lindsey Graham does not understand. It is a religio-political environment. When he says they're religious Nazis, really what that means is that they have a societal governmental structure, and we've talked about this in the past, that is based on a combination of religious laws and government secular layers applied to live under those religious laws in their state. And the majority of the people want it. So Donald Trump is what I'm hearing, and some of the sources are reporting on this, doesn't want to do just a little strike, a couple missiles, boom, and out. If he's going to do a strike, what he has told the military commanders is, I need a plan that will be absolute, concrete, and will cause a regime change, because otherwise we're going to be in a protracted war that is not in our interests. Okay. And this, so he wants to do a knockout punch, knockout blow. That's Donald Trump's style. Knock him out, overwhelming force, chess master's move. And that's what the deal is. However, so they were going to head towards talks. It got kiboshed. And Arachi, and this is going to be Witkoff again. So Donald Trump has been quite clear in his demands: zero nuclear capability. Oil prices are doing some uncertainty things, etc. Actually, they jumped up, interestingly, which makes sense. The threat to just shut down the Straits of Hormuz are there. There's all of the regional Arab neighbors have all said, stop this to the United States. Negotiate. We do not need a regional conflict. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, they've all said, if you can't precipitate this, you can't escalate this, because this will be chaos in the Middle East. It will absolutely be a decimatory war for all of our peoples, and we don't want to do this. Now, the reality of the picture is that the conversation is back on. The negotiations are back on for tomorrow, Friday, in just a few hours. And so we'll see how things go. This is something to pay attention to. However, we had this story from the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago, and this has been a big topic, is that they're very concerned about Iran's ability to respond after an initial strike or multiple waves of strikes by the United States if we do that. And also they're very concerned about the carrier group, especially the Abraham Lincoln, being sunk. And this is serious stuff, because there are hypersonics involved, and it doesn't take but less than 3 minutes from there, and you've got a carrier that can't maybe strike it down, maybe gets lucky, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, and I hope we don't have to see it. Frankly, I really hope we don't have to see it. Because 5,000 sailors on an aircraft carrier that takes a hypersonic missile hit is not something we want to see ever. It will enrage the American public. So the Israelis are what we're also concerned about, because the Iron Dome didn't work. The THAAD missiles were the only missiles that were somewhat successful during certain ballistic missile trajectory. And so they're rushing our THAAD missiles systems from other parts of the world into the region because they don't have enough air defense. In fact, we're at 65% of the military forces in the region compared to the way it was back on the 12-day war start. Now, some analysts are saying that this delay and this negotiations discussion and Donald Trump talking, yeah, we're talking with him, yeah, same thing we heard, guys, back in when Israel. So if you remember correctly, Witkoff was supposed to be going on, I think is like 4th or 5th or 7th meeting with the Iranians, and they were really close to signing some sort of deal and coming up with a deal. And then the trip was canceled, and that night Israel was allowed to strike. And then that started the 12-day war. And then we settled that one down, calmed that one down. And then there was, again, discussion of diplomacy. And then there was, okay, yeah, I think we're going to have a deal, but maybe we won't have a deal. I think we're going to have a deal. We won't have a deal. And that was seen as Trump trickery. This is the word that's being used in the EU papers, Trump trickery. And that this is something that the Iranians are like, we don't trust you. And so all this talk about negotiations, they've made it 100% clear Yeah, we're willing to talk. Yes, we're willing to talk. We're willing to come to some sort of arrangement, but you're the one who pulled out of JCPOA. The Europeans have kind of been told to shut up about that because they were bitching about it for a while. And, do you want to do another nuclear agreement? Let's work on it. Well, they're thinking that really what's happening is it's buying time to get assets in the region so we can deliver the knockout blow. And so we'll have to see what's going to be seen. But supposedly the discussion that happened with Xi the other day was specifically focused on this, and that's after Xi and Putin talked. So yeah, that's that piece. And then of course, just today, I think you dropped this, Hulkinator, that the United States has announced that U.S. citizens need to leave Iran immediately. I don't know. Is this current? Did this just drop today? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
in the last 2 hours.
And other, other embassies have told their people to evacuate, the Emirates and so on and so forth. But the talks are going to be held not in Turkey; they're going to be held in Oman. So we'll have to see what's going to happen. Keep your eyes open. All right, Venezuela, really quick. So supposedly, remember this guy, Alex Saab, he was the Ministry of Interior. He was a former Chavista, so he's a Chavez guy that ended up working in Maduro's cabinet. And supposedly he was picked up by the FBI, a joint task force between the FBI and the Venezuelan security services. But then his attorney is saying, no, he wasn't. So we had this back and forth going on most of the day today, and I don't know if we have actually seen visual proof that he has been apprehended. And of course, this is not the last time. I'm not going to play the video here where they're talking about
Was
him
it in Venezuela where he
News.
was?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is the guy that was, after Maduro got picked up, he was rounding up all of the people that took bribes, that stood down and got money from the U.S. CIA and other places like that. So he was going around and arresting these military commanders and officers and other politicians or whatever, and purging them, behind the scenes. He is a power guy in Venezuela, and he is. He has a past. He has an interesting past. So we'll talk about this. So. This is back from 2022. Actually, this is out of order. Who is Alex Saab and why has he been kidnapped by the U.S. regime? This is 2021. It's not the first time he's been apprehended and extradited by the United States. Okay, he was arrested before, and he was brought back to the U.S. to stand trial, and he was convicted, and so on and so forth. And when that happened, he ended up working and cooperating with the DEA to help bring down some cartels and big level cartel bosses and so on and so forth. So he was released at some point in time and ended up going back to Venezuela and blah, blah, blah. All right. So this is kind of interesting. Some people are saying or questioning, was this guy really working with the U.S. all along? Is this guy just being extradited as a way of covering it up and bring him to the U.S. for safe haven, or impossible testimony? Because between him and Maduro's testimony, the Europeans, a lot of other folks around the world, like the Colombian president we're talking about, are implicated in this globalist drug, human trafficking, and a whole bunch of other bad stuff going on, including the election fraud. We can't forget the election fraud stuff coming out of, that was kind of originating there. And then Hulkinator, you dropped this post earlier that some of the infrastructure changes are already taking place down there in Venezuela. This is a sugar factory. Yeah, I think. Sugar factory, Sucre.
Yeah, I heard the sugar factory and a tire manufacturer are the two that have lit off recently.
Yeah, sugar. So, sugar's code word for that. Coca. No, I'm just kidding.
They got to dry it somehow.
Get that. There's a lot of snow in that mountain. It's worth $2 million. Oh my God. Whatever. Okay. EU. So there's the trilateral meetings that we'll get to in just 1 second. But interesting things happened this week. One, and I don't think I picked it up here, Macron's special envoy. He appointed a guy, I think his name is Ban or Ban, from France, just landed in Moscow yesterday and is there to start talking with the Russians. Whoa, Europeans going to talk to Russia and start negotiations with Russia. But I thought Kaja Kallas and the Europeans were like, we will never negotiate with Putin. And Macron has been out there, and we won't talk with Putin. And then one day he'll say, yeah, we need to talk to Putin. Well, France sent somebody to talk to Putin. Well, at the same time, on the sidelines of one of these conferences going on in Europe, we have the Latvian Prime Minister Evika Seline and Estonian President Alar Karis that we're talking about, we need to have dialogue with Russia. I think we need to engage in diplomacy. We always need to talk. We need to isolate Russia and before, apply sanctions to it. So they're so confused. They're so scared. But this is where Kaja Kallas came from, right? She came from these little Baltic nations. They've been the little instigators and troublemakers, causing some issues between Europe and Russia, and main vocal opponents to any kind of dialogue with Russia whatsoever. Well, now they feel we're being left out of discussions, and they're scared, and they should be. They're nobody. They will do what the U.S. tells them to do, and they now want a seat at the table. Well, you're not going to get one. Sorry, go tough shit. Meanwhile, the Swiss foreign minister and the OSCE, this is the monitoring service that was originally part of monitoring both the Ukrainian and the Donetsk People's Republic, Lugansk People's Republic forces that were kind of fighting back during the conflict between 2014 and 2022. And they arrived in Moscow. And again, French President Macron has also reestablished diplomatic ties of some kind with Moscow. So very interesting stuff going on, and we'll have to keep an eye on it. They're afraid. Europe is in absolute disarray, and we'll get into some reasons why. So the trilateral meetings between the United States, as the neutral mediator, we're not neutral, and the Russians and the Ukrainians, which, by the way, there were no politicians there. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner did not attend this round. This was purely technical meetings, and they broke into multiple different meetings. Happened in the United Arab Emirates. Steve Witkoff reported today the results of those 2 days of talks, that the delegations from U.S., Ukraine, and Russia agreed to exchange 314 prisoners of war, the first such exchange in 5 months. Well, FYI, they've been exchanging the dead bodies for the last 14 months, and it's been 1,000 Ukrainians on average to about 20 to 25, 30 Russian every single month for 14 months. He also went on to say this outcome was achieved from peace talks that have been detailed and productive, while significant work, basically nothing happened. Nothing happened. There was no detailed discussions about land or the concessions of territory. There were no detailed discussions about agreeing to this condition or that condition that were the sticking points. None of that was discussed. This was all very detailed discussions, predominantly about one thing. You MFers, don't you dare try to assassinate our president again. We caught you. We got the evidence. Let's figure it out, because if you do it again, there's going to be problems. And they had a lot of detailed discussion, these intelligence and military guys, about what the rules of engagement are going to be going forward. And that's kind of the bulk of it. There was some discussions to the sidelines about the START treaty, and we'll get into that in just 1 second. Let's see if there's anything else talked about here. Negotiations between Russian and Ukraine delegations concluded. We'll resume tomorrow. That was the other day. And let's see, there's another statement here. Oops. Yeah, this is the same thing, the Abu Dhabi. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Meanwhile, back up in Ukraine, get to picture the rest of the world. Back up here in Ukraine, we have Zelensky had a big interview with French media today. And actually, it was published yesterday, actually. And in this interview, it was absolutely insane. This guy looked like he was on drugs. It was bad news. And he said some of the craziest things. And part of what he said was, since the beginning of the special military operation, so since February 2022, Ukraine has only lost 55,000 soldiers. 55,000. Now, just last month, he said Russia lost 35,000 soldiers this month. Okay, so based on his numbers, if you take his numbers, that means Ukraine in about the last, because the last time he talked about this stuff, he said, I think Ukrainian numbers were at 40,000. And this was maybe 8 months ago. It was back in the summertime of last year. And that means that in like 8 or 9 months, Ukraine has only lost 15,000 soldiers. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And he went on to say a bunch of other crazy stuff in the interview. That was, I think, with French 2 or France 2 media network. So you guys can go look that up your own self. Now, the other thing that happened this week in Ukraine is that the energy truce ended. So if you remember, Donald Trump announced last Thursday that that he asked Putin to do an energy truce for a week. Now, he didn't say when it started and when it ended. He later came out and clarified himself this past week after Zelensky came out and said, Putin violated energy truce. He attacked this on February 2nd. It was not supposed to happen for 1 week. We had 1 week from Thursday. It is not 1 week. Well, Donald Trump came out and says, actually, it started last blah, 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 and it ended February 1st, just like the Russians said. And so they honored it. And he said that Putin honored his word. That was big news. And the Western media sometimes picked it up. The European media did pick it up. And the Ukrainian spin was immediately applied to it. And they started, the Wall Street Journal and a couple of other papers started calling it the not an energy truce. They started calling it an energy ceasefire. Then they called it a winter ceasefire. Like it started making it sound in the spin like it was a complete ceasefire. The Western media is still completely in the tank for Ukraine. It's very, very sad. All right. So the Russians did hold off for 1 week, and then on between the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, there was some major attacks, and 4 energy power plants, 2 specifically in Kiev, were absolutely whacked, destroyed. They are non-functional. And Mark Rutte was traveling to Ukraine because Zelensky was going to use him as like a human shield. Because if Mark Rutte is in Kiev, Russians won't attack. Well, they attacked. And so he was actually on a train. The train had to stop. And they whacked power plant number 6 back up here. Power plant number 4 is now completely gone. And power plant number 5 is wiped out as well. And then there's a critical substation that's over here in this region that's on the way to the Rovnin nuclear power plant, and that the Russians hit that with a bunch. We're talking 85 missiles. It was the largest missile strike, and this came a day after, again, Western media was running stories like Russia's military is in disarray, they have no missiles, et cetera, and the missiles whacked them hard. Ukraine did shoot back at Belgorod region and with some a HIMARS missile that was launched from this region right here, and the Russians hit the HIMARS. They destroyed it within 15 minutes of them launching the attack, and they show the video and everything. All right,
kind of like a warning, wouldn't you say, Rdoc? Like on the one that they probably could have killed that dude if they wanted to, but they probably laid a bunch of missiles close by to be like, listen, you don't want to mess around.
Well, what Rutte was talking about, which is interesting, so Rutte goes there to Ukraine and he spoke to the Rada. And what he said basically was that Daddy has no, he didn't say Daddy. That that the United States supposedly and the Europeans and Ukrainians, we've all negotiated and we've come up with our security agreement. So they didn't talk to the Russians, but they've all circle jerked each other, and they've come up with their plan of how things are going to work. Once the peace agreement is reached and once the ceasefire is in place, then France and these NATO troops will move into this part of Ukraine, and the United States will provide this kind of air cover, and we're going to have ships in the Black Sea, NATO ships in the Black Sea, NATO troops and NATO forces here, and blah, blah, blah. All of it's crap. All of it's worthless. All of it's just bunk, because the Russians have been saying repeatedly, no NATO troops. It won't even be part of the plan. There will be no plan. We will just keep fighting. There's no NATO troops going to be in Ukraine. That is the whole reason this conflict is going on, is because you MFers keep pushing our boundaries. And so that's a non-starter, and Maria Zakharova announced that again today, or in response to Mark Rutte's comments. You keep talking about NATO troops. Just understand, if you put NATO troops anywhere in Ukraine now, or even after this, this supposed peace plan, blah blah blah, we'll annihilate them. We will treat them as enemy combatants, and we will annihilate them. And so the message is pretty straightforward. It's the same message they've delivered nonstop. No NATO troops, no U.S. troops, no NATO troops, no European troops, nothing. All right. So then one of the things that did happen on the sidelines of the UAE talks is the Russians and the United States also had some more detailed discussions about START treaty. And so, if just to take you back in memory here, back during Alaska, Putin and Lavrov talked about how they brought up the need to renegotiate START treaty with the Trump administration, and they didn't get a clear answer, and they were waiting for an answer. Okay, that request has been made multiple times over the intervening August, 6-7 months since that period of time, is that, hey, the deadline's coming. Well, that's today. Today, the New START treaty expired. It was extended, I think, back in 2016 or something. Anyway, it expired today. 10-year extension or 1-year extension, whatever. Anyway, it expired. And there is no nuclear treaty right now between us and the Russians. Now, this is goes back to 1959 when some of these negotiations started in earnest to, control the two nuclear superpowers at the time. Well, since that time, the world has changed, and Donald Trump has made comments on that. So now we're getting stories today that Donald Trump shot down an offer from Putin to extend this thing by another period of time so they can negotiate. The Russians have been trying to get the White House to negotiate with it for 6 months, maybe longer. I don't know, but definitely for 6 months. And it hasn't been happening. Well, a little bit has been happening. And we got some words on that today, some notifications on that today. Now, Axios ran a story. Notice Axios is always getting these scoops. This is the Susie Wiles little connection there. All right, so Axios got the scoop that Russia and the U.S. are close on a deal to continue New START nuclear arms treaty. Okay, but what happens in between? Well, supposedly they're not going to extend the current deal, which includes monitoring. Okay, which includes, limiting, production. Nobody can produce extra things. Well, China's not part of this. And so Trump doesn't want to limit the United States in its ability to produce nuclear weapons based on what Russia's production levels are. Because China's over here producing away, chunk, putting out those nuclear missiles and hypersonic missiles on top of it. China's going nuts on production. 1 out of 100 missiles they produce each month is a nuclear missile that's potentially hypersonic capable. That's a lot of missiles. That's a lot of nuclear missiles. And China went from like having number 3 small amount of nuclear weapons to now catching up pretty damn fast. And this is something Donald Trump wants to even the playing field or make sure all parties are involved in. And so that's why he did not agree to extend the current regime and let it expire, except without the regime in place, even though the two parties have agreed to informally, through a gentleman's agreement, keep their countries at the same level. That's bullshit. The reality is you now have countries like Sweden and Poland now wanting nuclear weapons. And you now have things like, well, if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, then Saudi Arabia is going to immediately get a nuclear weapon. That's J.D. Vance said that this week. So this is a dangerous time, very dangerous time without this, the first time in 50 years, 60 years, maybe more, that we have no nuclear kind of shield or treaty or agreement in place, even if it was just a worthless piece of paper or whatever the case might be, none of it's there. So we'll see what happens. Now, are they talking about it? Are they negotiating it? Well, this is what Donald Trump said. Somebody want to read that real quick while I grab a drink?
Sure. The United States is the most powerful country in the world. I completely rebuilt its military in my first term, including new and many refurbished nuclear weapons. I also added Space Force and now continue to rebuild our military at levels never seen before. We're even adding battleship, great big battleships, which are 100 times more powerful than the ones that roamed the seas during World War II. The Iowa, Missouri, Alabama, and others. I have stopped nuclear wars from breaking out across the world between Pakistan and India, Iran and Israel, Russia and Ukraine, rather than extend, quote, New START, a badly negotiated deal by the United States that, aside from everything else, is being grossly violated. We should have our nuclear experts work on a new, improved, and modernized treaty that can last long into the future. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, Rdoc, really quickly, I was talking to my buddy who's a former Air Force guy, and he goes, did you hear Trump talk about these huge battleships? He goes, I keep hearing talking about these huge battleships. He goes, but I've not seen them. So he goes, I don't know exactly what they're talking about. Okay.
This is part of, was it the cruiser program or the destroyer program? I think it was the cruiser program. Absolute. And Hulkinator had this story that he ran with maybe 4 weeks ago, something like that. Hulk, maybe you can remember, where the money and the engines. Remember that whole thing? I can't remember.
Yeah, they were doing their small scale boats that they were going to mass produce through the system itself. So they set up a regulatory commission, came out with a plan, and set up these things. This is the way they're all going to be built. And the first one, they decided to go ahead and change the plans, and they put a bunch of money into it, made the ship really kick ass until they realized, oh shit, where do we put the motor? There's not enough room.
Yeah. So that was the smaller frigate or maybe destroyers. But then in the cruiser program, this new advanced cruiser program also is massive cost overruns, massively inefficient and worthless. And so they've kiboshed that program. And so now all of a sudden we got this new battleship program. And I think we talked about that. Was it last week or the week before? I remember Tron had some comments and whatever. Anyway, we're not going to see these battleships for 5-10 years. They're going to have to go through testing and trials and everything like that. But it's money promised to the military industrial complex. We're going to throw this to you in the budget over the next 10 years, blah, 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 whatever. Sit down, be quiet, shut up. We're taking care of you. Maybe it's some of that. I don't know. But battleships are completely outdated. In the world of supersonic jets and hypersonic missiles in space, is it an SDI type of situation? The Ronald Reagan, SDI bluff/reality that caused the Russians the Soviet Union to overspend, to outspend, and crash their economy? Could be. Don't know. So we'll keep an eye on this. It's not something that's going to go away anytime soon. But Then we got this notification the other day that Putin and Xi had a video call, very productive video call. They talked about their cooperation. They talked about the United States and their relation with the United States and what's going on with Venezuela and Cuba and Iran and everything like that. And then and China, like we said last week, the Europeans and Canadians are all over China trying to make buddies so they can have somebody in their corner if they don't like what the U.S. is doing. Because right now there's nobody that can. They have to do what the bully says. They have to do what the President of the United States or U.S. says, and they don't like that. They don't like being in that position. These globalist elites, they want to do what they want to do. And so they're going to go try to play off China or who knows, play off Russia against the United States and do what they can through Thucydides. So right after this call, Xi and Trump made a tweet and he says, hey, I just talked to Xi. So literally Xi and Putin get on a call. They're on a call for a couple hours. Then Xi and Trump get on a call. And somebody want to read this post. Can you read that? Or do I need to make it bigger?
Yeah. I have just completed an excellent telephone conversation with President Xi of China. It was long and thorough call where many important subjects were discussed, including trade, military, and an April trip that I will be making to China, which I very much look forward to. Taiwan, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the current situation with Iran, the purchase of oil and gas by China from the United States, the consideration by China of the purchase of additional agriculture products, including lifting the soybean count to 20 million tons for the current season. They have committed to 25 million tons for next season. Airplane engine deliveries and numerous other subjects, all very positive. The relationship with China and my personal relationship with President Xi is an extremely good one, and we both realize how important it is to keep it that way. I believe that there will be many positive results reached over the next 3 years of my presidency having to do with President Xi and the People's Republic of China. Boom.
Just to understand, while this sounds like, oh, it's all smiles and goodies, he cut a major oil supply to China, and he's now threatening another major oil supply to China, that being Iran, Venezuela and Iran, two major suppliers of oil for China's development and their economy with billions of people. Okay. And so this is he's doing like a warrior should do, which is, I'm going to bring my A game. You're not playing chess with the C team anymore. You're playing with the A team. And as we specify our spheres of influence and zones of control in the world, you do your best, I'm going to do my best. And then we'll all come together and we'll still be friends. We'll create a global security architecture. And then the world will live under that multipolar world for the next 100 plus years. That's kind of what's happening there, the New World Order. So yeah, they spoke. So now Donald Trump's going in April. Interestingly, Xi invited Putin to visit China within 6 months. That also goes through May, June-ish timeframe. There are some people talking, and I'm hearing scuttlebutt, that the three of them may be meeting in China to have the first of what will be many rounds of negotiations on a new nuclear type of START treaty. We'll have to pay attention to this and see what's going to happen. The globalists will try to stop it. They will do everything they can to prevent us from reaching some sort of a peace, global peace. Okay. We'll see what happens. But China has stated they will not be part of a nuclear talks at this stage. They were very, very clear. I'm not going to play the full statement, but basically they do not want limitations on them because they feel they have every right to grow and to become a military power because they feel threatened. They've been sanctioned, they've been shut out, whatever, but they've never attacked anybody. That's interesting. That's very interesting. China has not attacked anybody. Play sneaky. So we'll have to see how this is going to play out. Donald Trump says it's not fair. You're making more missiles by you two combining forces and kind of doing your little alliance. You have more missiles than us. I mean, we have enough missiles we could destroy the world 10 times over, but you have more missiles than us combined, so we don't want to be restricted either. We need to renegotiate this thing. That's what it comes down to. It's that kind of argument, and it's kind of a little bit insane, but we'll get to it. It's part of what has to happen. All right, now we can get into the meat and potatoes of Epstein stuff. So we're going to run through some of this crap. This is just weird crap. X states he was raped by Epstein in 2000 on a large yacht by Bill Clinton. Okay, we got that piece. We had Bush Sr. was a rapist. Prince Andrew tortured a girl. Trump's head of security threatened a girl that if she blabbed, she'd be buried under a golf course. Elon Musk it turns out Elon Musk didn't go, and he's in a big fight with some other guy on the internet about that. And then, of course, we have this, thank you, Thomas Massey, blah, blah, blah.
Most of this stuff is from the tip line stuff, unverified.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's part of the issue here. That's why I'm running through this really fast, is that, all of these things that you're seeing is just a document dump. And now this is what's interesting. These ongoing conversations from his emails, that is telling. So you remember who Wolf is, guys? You remember who Wolf was? Wolf was the guy that did that biography and was doing that book. Remember that thing? I think okay. So Epstein and Wolf are having a dialogue, and they're talking about who the original funder of the Steele dossier was. Remember, there was floated around in that the Canadian guy had talked to like 2 or 3 people, and Harper was over here doing his own thing. Well, supposedly Rubio, according to, if you believe this email, and this Jeffrey Epstein telling Michael Wolff, is that, and they misspell these words on purpose, okay, was Rubio. Very interesting, very interesting. Little Marco's now got a key position. National Security Advisor / yeah, exactly.
That's the one name that we didn't see in there was Rubio and any of that stuff, which I found amazing.
Yeah. And then, so this is another one. Attorney General Bill Barr was in there, identified a victim, called the national, again, one of these tip lines, etc. But that's what they're supposed to be for. They're supposed to be investigated. Participated in this. Bill Barr was there with Leon Black, etc. He was present during some of these occasions of abuse, blah, 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 around 2006. Okay. This could all be just BS. This was an interesting little tidbit I pulled out. This is Steve Bannon and Epstein back and forth, okay? And this is during a time that Bannon, this is 2018. So this is just fascinating conversations going on when Donald Trump was president of the United States. Now, I can't remember when Bannon kind of left the administration. There was a period of time that him and Stony Stone, kind of got pushed out, so to speak. But I thought it was closer to 2019 timeframe. And so, yeah, the supposedly the deal is that, they talked about Kavanaugh and Epstein, whatever. Anyway, it's just crazy stuff.
So I had to look it up because I needed to know for myself, but it's early 2019. ChatGPT, anyways, is saying that Bannon conducted multiple interviews with Epstein, 12 to 15 hours. And then it says those sessions were filmed in the months before his arrest in 2019. So it's interesting, the timing of that too. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, but these messages are from 2018 July. So yeah, it's interesting timeline. There's people that are going through this stuff with a fine-tooth comb and doing all the stuff we used to do back in the day with the QAnon stuff and all the deep digs. Donald Trump made comment, this is not only does it absolve me, it's the opposite of what people are hoping for. The radical left, Wolf, who's a third-rate writer, was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to hurt me politically or otherwise. That was borne out to be true. And so now we got to see that Epstein was over there pushing Russiagate shit against Donald Trump. Now, interestingly, when we get over to the Russian stuff, he was trying to deliver stuff to Putin or get stuff from Putin, and the Russians to use against Donald Trump. So we'll that's interesting. Now, here's some of the redactions. So we definitely don't have all of the information, but anyway. Yeah, some more conversations between Bannon. I can't remember what was being talked about. Maybe this is Ehud, talking with Ehud Barak. So Ehud Barak, former prime minister of Israel, was a common bedfellow with Epstein. He stayed over at Epstein's apartment all the time. He was there so many times. We're not talking about the island. We're talking about his place in New York and other places. And so the Ehud Barak was a common visitor, a frequent visitor. Howard Lutnick, we've talked about, was neighbors.
Dude, this one was weird, bro.
Like 20
weird.
years.
Yeah, but dude, look at that at the last line, right? So I covered this the other day on the show, but like, if you were gonna go visit your friends and you were gonna say, "Hey, I'm bringing me and Nancy and the kids," right? But he's like, "No, each of us has 4 children: 2 16s, 2 14s, a 13, a 12, an 11, and a 7." That sounds like a friggin' dinner menu to me. You know what I mean?
Sometimes when you're saying, okay, you're trying to make arrangements on the yacht. Where are they going to sleep? What activities are they going to do? So you want to say, here's who's coming. But it's
a little weird.
The fact of the matter is, they were neighbors. They had conversations. I think they might know who's coming and who's part of the family. And so to list it out like this, it is a little weird.
Good point. And he does look like a slime ball, dude. I'm sorry, but Lutnick is just to me he looks like that typical greasy slime ball, like used car salesman.
I mean, these guys were, so we're talking about Sheldon Bolton doing what Sheldon tells him to do, and Miriam is now taking over the reins from Sheldon and is telling Trump what to do, supposedly, according to certain people. So the Adelson money, we got MBZ, that's Mohammed bin Zayed, and this is back in what date? So he is Mohammed bin Zayed. This is not Mohammed bin Salman. This is Mohammed bin Zayed. Get an actual deal. This is at this time he was the head of the security for the United Arab Emirates, and so the UAE, Israel, UK, all that stuff is all tied in. And you got Bolton and Ehud Barak, Steve Bannon, and Epstein is in the middle of all this crap. How? Why is Epstein in the middle of all this crap? Because Epstein was more than just a compromat guy. He was a guy that was also helping to flow information to move things and shake things and do things, okay, to overthrow presidents, to do stuff like that too. And he was working with some of the biggest money and shakers in the world. Okay, to remind people,
no credible bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file. There's no credible information.
None. Now, this is not a lie. And so one of the things to understand is the timing of certain things and where these files were found, what was found, where these files sources came from, and what kind of investigatory matter had already been done to some of these files. So when he says credible information, that means you got to have evidence. You have to have more than just an email from somebody who called a tip line and said, "Oh, this happened to me." They got to be interviewed. They got to follow up. They got to provide evidence. A lot of times it's just like me calling up my neighbor or calling the police on my neighbor and saying, "Yeah, my neighbor did this," and making a false report. The Democrats were doing this on a regular basis. Other people were doing this on a regular basis. Epstein, many of these things happened long after Epstein got originally arrested. Was that 2009? Okay. And so all this stuff is going on, and all these documents that were being released, you don't have context necessarily. And so that's why I want to make sure. However, a lot of people are jumping all over this stuff and saying, these guys were lying to us, and it's certainly Democrats and all the Ukrainians are. Earlier, I think one of the little links was a NAFO guy. The Ukrainian NAFO types are all over this stuff and trying to make Donald Trump and his administration look like crap. This is interesting. Now there's a tidbit in here, and maybe the original funder, I did that one. Okay, so this guy is Brett Ratner, and he's the guy that has directed this new documentary that just started or just came out with the Melania. Okay, and then supposedly, according to some sources coming out, that Prince Andrew's biographer is spreading the word that Epstein was Melania's lover before Trump. Okay.
So here we are with him in Mar-a-Lago, as you see with Epstein. Sorry, can you see okay? Epstein, a woman called Gwendolyn Beck, who Andrew took to the island, and Melania. I had various references in my book to Melania Trump. Epstein had actually been her lover before Trump. Trump didn't like that in the book, so he ordered it to be taken out of the book. But after about
okay, all right, whatever his word, whatever. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know anything more about
it to
that.
be taken out of the book, and he just took it out.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, he just took it out.
Well, I'm going to sue you. I mean, that sounds like a Donald Trump. I'm going to sue your ass if you put that in there. I mean, I can
show me some
proof. I can see that one. Exactly. No proof. His word, he said, she said, kind of crap. Okay. Yeah, we already talked about that one. Okay, we talked about that one. Whether the little tidbit was in here. Oh yeah, this crap. Yeah, I'm gonna disappear you. We kind of already talked about that one. Whatever. It's stupid. All right, but this one was funny. I had to include this one here. When you don't appear in the Epstein files. All right, that's funny. Okay, why is that funny? Well, did his DOJ wipe the files? Somehow, there's some people out there that are saying Biden's Merrick Garland and those guys scrubbed any kind of reference to him and his team out there. They're involved. Actually, Hunter Biden is connected into Epstein and Zelensky, interestingly enough.
I'm still amazed. I'm still amazed that Kanye West didn't end up in the files.
Maybe he's too smart. I don't know. Shocking email files implicates former U.S. ambassador. That's Mendelsohn. Clinton's, Biden's first commanding officer, SEAL Team 6. I think you talked about some of this stuff. I'm not going to go into detail. Let's move it on. All right. Massey Epstein. So I picked this up here because this guy was the vocal guy. He was the guy.
This bill up.
Okay, you can't deny it. You can badmouth him about anything else he said about Donald Trump and the boss, but he went in there and he said, I'm not going to stop. This is my fight.
Get embarrassed. Went to Rape Island.
Okay, so he did that. Well, this week, Donald Trump attacked Massey again. Not a good look, not good timing. Not when the Epstein files dropped. That's bad timing. Somebody in Susie Wiles' little group over there needs to get a butt chewing because it was very bad optics to go out and attack Massey and his wife. He attacked his wife in a Truth Social post. Whether Trump made the post himself or somebody in the communications department, it's likely somebody in the communications department, maybe with some comments from Trump. I don't know, but bad timing, very bad timing.
Not his dead wife,
and
right?
So,
the new wife that he married after. Like
it was basically kind of a reference. It was kind of referencing all that stuff. Matter of fact, I think we can lengthy post on show select. Will it pull it up? There it is. People are saying that Thomas Massey became a liberal because his new wife, blessed be their marriage, is supposedly a radical left flamethrower. This new union all went so fast that maybe he didn't know what he was getting into. But nevertheless, he is an absolutely terrible and unreliable Republican, perhaps a rhino, or maybe even worse. Ed Galrine, a farmer, a war hero, is running against Massey. He is a highly quality individual, and there's no candidate for Congress who would be better. He is running because he realizes Thomas Massey has been totally disloyal to the President of the United States. refers to himself as third party. And the Republican Party, he never votes for us. He always goes with the Democrats. Thomas Massey is a complete total disaster. We must make sure he loses big. It should say bigly. That was Donald Trump. Anyway, so who is this guy? Okay, this guy, Ed Galrine, is big time DIE, whatever the fuck it is, DEI. That's all he does. He is not a MAGA Republican. And the fact that this guy is being pushed, scary as F. I'm going to tell you, this needs to be dug on. Real people, dig, meme, and pray type stuff, because this is not a good situation. And frankly, Massey's responded to this the other day, and this attack, and it was bad optics. It was just bad. It bumped his campaign, and so it had the reverse. And maybe that's Trump's intent. Maybe, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Did Barnes in there mention that he's a former Navy SEAL, spent his whole life in Kentucky, but he keyed in on the DEI part? Okay, moving along.
Oh, Bart? Yeah. I don't. That's
Barnes.
What he does. He's a DEI coach, and you could be military in DEI. That was something that we're supposedly getting out of the military. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I love
this one. Is this old, by the way?
These little stories.
I know they reposted this the other day because Dimitri did, but is this particular recording older?
It could be. He's said this several different times, and he's repeated this a couple different times, and he repeated it this week. So this may be the new one, but so I just wanted to play this as a reminder. And if you go back to the Magnitsky Act and all that stuff, that was all about stopping human trafficking of young children and putting an end to the adoption by Western NGOs and charities of Russian children into the West because of the trafficking problems. And so this is what his comments were. The Western elites, in the Western elites, is a very strong desire to freeze the existing situation, the unjust
to mute him
state of things in international affairs. They are used to, for centuries, stuffing their belly with human flesh and their pockets with money. But they need to understand that the vampire's ball is coming to an end. Ball vampirov. Okay, so starting it off with that. So this is Putin's comments, and this is something he's been consistent with saying for years, like 20 years. Okay, Maria Zakharova said this week,
and Epstein materials which were published during these days give us a proof of how the Western elite treats children, including their own children. Basically, they do not care any longer on what their fate will be. You see how they treat them. Imagine those who for decades subjected kids to violation, to violence, and they did it en masse, involving more victims, underage children, and adults.
Okay, so ignore the fact. I mean, this is obviously somebody who does not like Jews who posted this. I grabbed the video off their deal, but that's the Western elites, and the Israeli connection is there. We'll get into that in a second here. Former Russian politician, now Ukrainian politician Ilya Ponomarev was in contact with Epstein. Well, he's not just in contact with Epstein. Epstein was working with various different people to initially find this guy and support this guy to overthrow Putin. And so this is back in 2012. He's talking about conversations they had in Davos with a guy by the name of Boris Nikolic. Okay, now Boris Nikolic is an important person here. We'll discuss him in just a second. We should soon go to Russia, and you should meet my friend Ilya. He is a member of Duma, and he and Alyona, his very smart and cute girlfriend, notice they spell it wrong, are the main organizer of the uprising against Putin. The main organizer of the uprising against Putin. Now, this is 2012. This is, if you go through the timing of the elections in which the brain fart, the guy that just died in prison over there, that his wife is now out there running her mouth. Anyway, Ilya was another one of these guys. He was putting money, Western money. He was getting Western NGO money in. He was getting money from Epstein. That's what this whole thing was about, was how can we support this guy Ponomarev to overthrow Putin? How can we get him enough money, enough support through our intelligence services, through our regular government support to get eyes on him, to make sure he can overthrow. I'll try to hurry up, Hulkman. I just saw your message. And this Ilya Ponomarev is the guy that they were supporting, and they wanted to go meet him. And Boris was trying to arrange this meeting. And so this guy, Ilya, had to flee Russia in 2015. He was faced with embezzlement and gay propaganda charges and a bunch of other stuff. He is a nut job. He's a little crazy, and he's very wealthy. And this is the same guy. If you remember, we talked about back in a couple of years ago, 2023, we reported, remember the Jews who were being shot up in Dagestan? And we reported on this little flare-up because there was some posts made in this online service and in these particular channels, I think on Telegram or something. Well, it turns out Ilya Ponomarev was the guy who made those posts to stir the Muslim anti-Jewish violence against these people that were arrived on this bus. Remember, these people came by bus from Tel Aviv, and they all of a sudden, these people all started coming there and started beating up the people on the bus and threatening to kill them. That was Ilya, and he's in Ukraine, and he made this to cause problems for Russia in Dagestan. So that's the type of guy that Epstein was talking with to overthrow Putin. Now, there was another discussion about a year later where, Jeffrey Epstein says Putin asked that I meet him in St. Petersburg at the same time as economic conference. I told him no. If he wants to meet me, I will set aside real time and privacy. Let's see what happens. Okay, so to understand the narrative, the Putin, who supposedly is Epstein's boss, according to these people who are out there saying that Epstein is a KGB agent running compromat all over the world on these leaders and talking with people like Steve Bannon but anyway, that he has the power to tell Putin, no, I will not meet you in St. Petersburg at this time. I need more time. Bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Now, he never met with Putin, supposedly. He attempted to go. He did go to Russia back in sometime after he was arrested. I don't know the exact dates off the top of my head. I think I may have a post on it, but we're going to probably miss it. And he was recruiting women, but he also did that in the Czech Republic and elsewhere. But supposedly, according to some of these conversations that he was having with this guy, Thorban, is that he was trying to create some new cryptocurrency thing, and he was trying to get a meeting through his contacts to meet with Putin because he thought Putin would maybe help him, work together to create this new cryptocurrency. Okay. Okay, whatever. He talks about Gates and others are part of this conversation as well. So interesting. Not necessarily still a tie that says he's a Putin KGB agent. So this Bill Gates stuff gets more involved because guess who Boris Nikolic is? Gates' then top advisor. Well, wait, that's the same Boris Nikolic that's over here, wherever it was. That's Boris Nikolic. That's Boris. Okay. So understand the Gates Russia connection with Epstein and Ponomarev is pretty solid. And it also ties into the UK. So what happened just the other day? The former the globalist World Economic Forum guy, Peter Tusk, president of Poland, got marching orders from the UK, probably directly from Starmer or one of the guys himself, to go with this action. So he gets out and he stands up and he says, Epstein was probably a Russian spy, says Donald Tusk. And he gets out there in front of his people and his public, and he makes this proclamation that they're starting a formal investigation into the ties that Epstein might probably have. Maybe so. We think, I'm saying it, but I have no evidence and no support whatsoever that he was a KGB asset running a compromise ring throughout Europe and the rest of the world. Not Israel, not the UK, not anything like that, but he was Russian spy. And then just a reminder that who Donald. So then we have this comment happening in the UK yesterday.
The Polish government think Epstein may have been spying for Vladimir Putin. Is the Prime Minister concerned that Peter Mandelson may have been leaking state secrets, not just to a paedophile American financier, but also a Russian agent?
Okay, so they go through a bunch of stuff there, and then we got stories from the Daily Mail, etc. And then in the same story, they talk about, you have UK, Windsor Mountbatten, etc., etc., etc. Well, all this is a problem because what's happening in the UK right now is that Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, quits Labour. Now, if this name's not familiar with you, we've done stories on him before. This is was the UK ambassador to the United States. Starmer appointed him as UK ambassador to the United States. Donald Trump didn't like him, and Starmer agreed to pull him. Now, of course, that was after some Epstein documents were released. Okay, maybe the Trump administration released those documents to get rid of Mandelson, who was meddling in our affairs. Well, do you remember there's a guy by the name of McSweeney, I think is his name. And I'm not going to have time to play this, but Space Shot, you love her. And she hits the nail on the head on some of the discussion that really TikTok. This whole Epstein file release is about the banking industry and Donald Trump dismantling their entire system, because that's what is happening in the UK right now. Starmer is in deep trouble because of connections with this guy Mandelson and Palantir, and Peter Thiel is getting tracked, and the Home Secretary's office is involved, and Peter Thiel's being approached on the street and asked questions, hard questions about all his censorship programs and developing all this spying technology for the governments to spy on us, and so on and so forth. And the Prime Minister is embattled, and so the UK is now fighting for its survival as the establishment deep state. And this is one of those things that is tied to that Crown Temple Corp that I was talking about, because who was Epstein really? He was Crown Temple Corp asset. He was not just Mossad, he was not just MI6, not just CIA, he was part of the rogue shadow side of the deep state, to work with all of these agencies to do the bidding of the masters that are in charge of their Goyim assets. That's an important thing to distinguish. A lot more stuff we don't have time to go into. And then it ties to Israel and it ties to Ukraine. And we'll get into more of this later because there's too much information to cover. And that's where I'm going to have to end it right there. I'm sorry. Oh, I want to show this. I want to show this picture because Space Shot dropped this and I had this one. This was just blew me away. Macron's involved too, by the way. Supposedly like little boys. These are art from the EU building in Brussels. Okay, and this woman, she's crazy. She's crazy, and it's not just there. So you've got all of these EU elite that have been out there pushing pro-Ukraine, more money, fight Russia. They hate Putin because he called them out years ago, and they want Putin gone because he knows who they are. Anyway, okay.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. There's a whole lot more Epstein stuff than most people think, and it's pretty crazy. But we do appreciate everybody coming out, hanging out with us. It is always much appreciated. Make sure you leave comments, smashing the thumbs up button. We're going to do our exit over here. And Tron, what's for dinner, bro?
What's up, guys? Tomorrow night, Friday night, we have the Funnies. Get your comedy links ready for Friday Night Funnies. We're going to make it great again. And last week, I think we had some SNL cork soaking happening. Good stuff. Always a funny time. And if we don't see you Friday night, we'll see you. Yeah, that SNL with the Italians. They're like, hey, when I grew up, I used to soak corks, because that's how you have to do it. You have to soak a cork before you make the wine. Come on, you're Irish. So,
do you really?
Space Shot.
That's fucking Scottish.
Yeah.
How do you think it got in there? Yeah, you got to soak the corks before you put them in the wine bottle. Anyways, before that, we'll see you guys on Saturday. Keeping It Wheel music show. We're doing Friday Night Funnies music on Saturday, and then Sunday morning, me and Leonidas bringing the bread to the table. It's been a very, very busy week. We're going to get into it. And we have Leonidas's views from the EU over there. It's going to be a good show. We'll see you then. And if not, guys, been a great show. Thank you, Hulk, for an awesome show. Space Shot and Doc, hit that thumbs up on the way out. And much love, Tribe. We'll see you tomorrow night. If not, the next time, have faith, be encouraged, dig me and pray. Where we go, one we go all. Yay!
I appreciate that much. Appreciate that. To that Booth, I said that comment over an hour ago. You conclude China, too, that says to leave Iran as we get in there. Anyways, Mr. Rdoc, final thoughts for you, sir.
Final thoughts. Pay attention to what's happening in the UK and Europe. Pay attention what's happening in Iran. I think the Ukraine thing is unfortunately just going to continue. I don't think we're going to end up with any kind of solution anytime in the near future. And always dig, meme, and pray. You gotta stay in peace. Don't let this stuff rile you. Good news, bad news, rumors of wars, and all kinds of stuff is always going to be out there. Bad people are always out there. Stay in peace, and you be the balance. That's my final thought.
Awesome. Mr. Space Shot, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's crazy. It's going to get crazier. It's like Groundhog Day. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazier, and until something pops out there. And I'm here for it all, dude, because it is getting wild out there. The accusations are thrown left and right, and we have all these different things coming back into roost. And loving the fact that they're going into Georgia 2020. And then who was questioning that? Why is Tulsi Gabbard down at the raid? Oh, Adam Schiff is wondering why Tulsi Gabbard's at the raid in Georgia. So I told, hey, pencil neck, maybe because there was an in all bold foreign interference in our United States elections. So they are very concerned, like everything he does. Like they're getting so bad, they're going after her movie. Oh, nobody went and seen her movie.
Funny.
3 days before her movie. And I'm like, well, the movie's not out for 3 days. And they're like, somebody told Gramps about pre-ordering. And I'm like, oh, well, a few days later after the weekend, she's already outgrossed 5 Oscar nominees for last year, which were probably indie films and short releases. Anyway, but again, they're getting panicked and they don't want to see anything positive from him, and anything that they can push against him is just hilarious. So I'm waiting to see the next shoe to drop. And like I said, I will be here for it. And I'll be home tomorrow at 1 p.m., dude. Catch me live. Hulk, you know anybody you're doing a show with at Saturday at 1 o'clock?
Huh?
Wait, 1 p.m. Friday or 1 p.m. Saturday?
Well, I just
Why?
asked,
Where are you on Saturday?
Who do you do a show with at 1 o'clock on Saturdays?
What's his name?
We'll see you there. All right, so we'll see Hulkinator there, and you guys can see me at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and then you'll see me at 1 o'clock on Sunday. But that's going to be maybe just an hour, because I know sports are rigged and it's entertainment only, but I was very surprised that my 4-13, 4 wins, 13 losses, 2 years in a row, New England Patriots are going to the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. So we'll see how that goes on Sunday. So over here, just on the D-Lives really quick, wanted to thank a few people here. Big Hair Tsunami, Crow Deck, and Pete Dancer are the top contributors over there. I still can't drop anything into the bucket over there, so it's still being released. And one more thing I wanted to thank, because this is going back to until basically January 31st. So really quick, BMAD had dropped 5 iced coffees, Norman Hamill dropped 3 iced coffees. Patty, no last name, dropped a coffee. And Susie Q dropped 5 iced coffees. So I do appreciate that. And last week there was somebody that dropped 3, but purposely did not want to be named. So I will not do that. So I appreciate that. So thank you very much for that, guys. And always want to thank the mods out there for their help and always giving Country and the folks over at Liberty Based News a big hat tip, which we will raid you over there when we are completed. But
yes, I will be doing that.
I'm good for now, Mr. Hulkinator.
Did you volunteer? Your comment about the show thing? You only volunteered
Saturday.
me for Saturday. That's right. You didn't volunteer me for something else. I got confused. It's like, when am I supposed to show up?
I know. I said
When
it
is
weird.
Super Bowl?
Sunday.
That's Sunday.
It is Sunday. Okay.
Yep.
Who cares? Super Bowl
Probably
Sunday.
6:30. I would guess the kickoff's probably 6:30.
And you remember, TP USA is going to do the Kid Rock thing, so he'll be performing. They're already putting out ads for that. So make sure you go and check out that. I want to say big thank yous out there for the people on the Pilled side. Shook me all night long. Q shook me all night long. Gifted the can. God bless America. Shwiki with the shades. P-Quest Cookie Observer Delian. 100 gold pills out there. Also 103 gold pills support our authors of our history. Norwegian Wood gifted the shades. I seem to remember the pictures of the old man with different earlobes on the gurney. It wasn't Epstein. So we all got questions on that one. Thunder, 427 gold pills. Thank you very much. Woke and Walk donated 117 gold pills. Happy Table of Titans Thursday. God bless Hulk, Space Shot, Rdoc, Tron, Tina Peters, and the whole Foxhole fam. And then lastly, Woke and Walked with the can. We greatly appreciate all the efforts. Make sure you come by and see the show on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have music, funny, news, all that stuff is definitely coming for Saturday.
Our creator streams.
And maybe our creator streams. And like Space Shot always says,
we do appreciate each and every one of you wonderful world patriots out there for tuning in. And until that next one, thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Peace.
Much love, be good humans. I'm deleting the YouTube feed.
I'm not. I don't care. Later.
Yeah, well,
wait,
strikes.
Wait, wrong song. There we go.
Hello, guys. Something special is happening in here. That's right. It's brackets and jackets. Bringing it back, but brackets and jackets. Special Epstein Island edition. That's right, folks. Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, the man with the island, which is suspiciously close to Haiti. That's right. You see, this man, Jeffrey Epstein, is funding lots of people. He's funding lots of people on the street to make sure his shit doesn't get out. That's right. They want the record sealed. And they're paying a lot of people. Epstein's paying a lot of people. Oh, boy. For one, he's got a whole Mossad media matrix in America. And I would bet you anything that Alex Jones is one of them. Prove me wrong. That's right. Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the building with songs about Epstein. It's Breakfast Jackets Epstein edition. Guys, I had some epiphanies today. I had some real big epiphanies about some guys. A big network of guys and spies and lies and liars. All right, think about this for a minute, okay? The guy in Portland, the scientist that just got busted for producing CP, that guy is 1 degree of separation away from Epstein. Epstein, the investor that lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. I know a guy who lives in West Palm Beach, Florida as well. Investor as well. Also involved as well. And all is not well with these guys. The Florida boys, the Glow boys, the Scott Israels of the world. You see, Epstein is Hillary Clinton. And Epstein is Haiti. And Epstein is a big network of media assets. By the way, did you know that Steve Bannon was going to that guy for money? Also, Epstein is Epstein Oprah. Epstein is Chris Tucker. You remember him. Epstein is also Kevin Spacey. Epstein is also Prince Andrew. Epstein is also... Who else is Epstein? Who else is Epstein? Tell me. You guys know? Who else is Epstein? Is Epstein Big Pharma? Is Epstein Bryan Singer? Is Epstein Naomi Campbell? Yep, all of the above. All of the above. Who is Epstein? Epstein is the keystone of a whole motherfucking matrix. And once you pull it out, it all falls down. Dersh was there too. That's right, we're dropping red pills every day. Dropping red pills in the best kind of way. This is brackets and jackets for the denizens of islands.